I don't know if you can see it. It's in Google Docs.
Uh, I I probably could if I.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like it's anything. I added a few things underneath the information that you added because, didn't want you to feel like you were just doing this alone.
Well, I appreciate that, but I mean, I also have some additional notes that I put, so you can just go with what you have and add it into the conversation if that
Yeah, I
works.
mean, yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's nothing. I'm sure it's nothing you don't already know. It's just some things I was looking at and some specific things I was looking up.
Well,
Um,
hopefully it's some stuff I don't know. I always like that.
well, we will certainly find out.
We'll find out. All right.
Okay. Um,
You ready to go?
yeah, wait, I forgot our order again. Hold on. I
We're
remember.
gonna we're gonna start with talking about the contract extensions for De'Aaron Fox and Luka Doncic, and then we'll get into WNBA because there's a few different things. Primarily, we can talk about Sophie Cunningham proving us prescient, which was not difficult to.
That wasn't hard to predict.
No, yeah.
Do you not want to save the De'Aaron Fox for because we are talking about the Spurs?
No. So we can. So why don't we go ahead? We can open with Luca real quick, and then we can kind of float De'Aaron Fox and say we'll bring it in, and then we'll go to that. Oh, there were some big contract extensions. We'll talk about Luca. We'll get into De'Aaron Fox one later because we're doing the Southwest Division.
Yeah. Do you want to do the tip off with the W and do your?
Sure. I mean, if
I know
that's
you
a.
said you want to talk about the Aces. I'm gonna talk about them, man.
I mean, I'm not gonna. It's not gonna go crazy, but we'll see where it goes. I am impassioned.
Sure.
Okay. All right.
Hey,
You ready?
you know what? We're in the middle of the W season. The NBA is over. It's fine with me if we lead with the W.
I love it. All right.
Yeah.
So
Hello and welcome to the No Gimmies podcast. It is 8 p.m. on the Eastern Standard Time. It is a Tuesday night, and I'm kind of sitting in the midst of bits and pieces of a tropical storm. So if anything were to happen in the middle of this, my power were to go out, my internet were to go out, I do apologize in advance. Don't blame me, blame the weather. Aaron, are we recording twice in a week
look at
in the
us
off
go.
season?
Yeah. Two times in 5 days, in fact, and I love it. I love it.
Whoa,
Yeah.
look at us.
Give the
Look at us
people what they
being,
want, and by the people I mean like my mom and like two other friends. But
hey, I've had some people that I have no idea who they are, like commenting on our some of our podcasts, and I'm like, hey, we're reaching an audience of people that I'm unfamiliar with, which that
yeah,
is so exciting.
that's an amazing feeling. And for anybody out there that is not friends with us through threads or directly, we really do appreciate you. Anybody who's willing to give us their time, I obviously say this a lot, but to me, time is the greatest resource that we have. So you being willing to spend it listening to the two of us kind of be chuckleheads about basketball is awesome. And thank you. We appreciate it.
Absolutely. I could not agree with you more. And we want to start our podcast with our tip off. And we're going to talk about the WNBA at the top of the podcast, just like we were just talking about. We are in the middle of a WNBA season. We're in the second half of it. I was literally just before we got on here watching the Liberty and the Wings. They were on NBA TV. I was hoping that it would be a get right game, the same way that it was against the Connecticut Sun the other night, especially considering the beatdown that the Dallas Wings gave the New York Liberty last week, where they beat them they had them down almost 30 points. New York made a bit of a late comeback, but it was the New York was only up two at half, even with a quiet Paige Beckers game. So Dallas is not a rollover team, despite the 8-21 record. But we do want to start by talking about Sophie Cunningham, her podcast that we said last week that when given this kind of platform, given this kind of opportunity, she would find a way to say something stupid. She would find a way to say something
She
that
rushed to the front of the line to prove us correct. That's for
she
damn
couldn't
sure.
wait. She really
Yeah.
couldn't wait. So the comments were essentially she said that black women in the WNBA don't like to see white women dominate their sport. Aaron, let's get your initial reaction to that.
Well, I have a couple questions for how it's being framed. One, by dominate, she means like be 30% of what's categorized as like the best grouping of players because no offense. Look, she wanted to make it a racial conversation, but we look at the rankings of the top 10 players in the league, and it was Sabrina Ionescu, Brianna Stewart, and Caitlin Clark. I believe were the only white women that were in that grouping, right? So we can start with that conversation. The other part of it is like, one, Sophie Cunningham is obnoxious. We know this about her. Whether you're a fan of her game or not, she can't really help but put her foot in her mouth. But I am so tired of people wanting so hard to feel oppressed. Like an attractive white woman in Indiana maligning how it's been racially unfair to her or her teammates in this league is silly. And more importantly, we just talked about Paige Beckers on the last podcast. There is a whole collection of excellent white players that we can name, including Sabrina and Brianna and Paige Beckers and Sonia Citron and all these players that are not facing the type of scrutiny that people like Sophie Cunningham and Caitlin Clark face. And that's because of their on-court histrionics. This has to do with when you bring attention to yourself, attention is then given. And that's part of the stuff with, like, don't get me wrong, there's some welcome to the league rook moments with Caitlin Clark because she's a phenomenal player, and that happens with almost all rookies. One of the most notable was Brianna Stewart giving her the business in one of the first games last year. So it was white on white crime, but it just, we're muddling up the conversations about the WNBA and all these racial siloed issues that you and I had talked about first with Van Lathan and all the rest. And it's like, there are very important substantive conversations to talk about racial dynamics in sports, particularly right now with what's happening and with the WNBA, because a certain fan base that has started to intercede. All she's doing is bringing in the worst parts of those conversations. And I don't want to talk about her entire background, but none of it is surprising.
Well, she has a certain moniker that I'm not going to like repeat here, but she seems to have a political viewpoint that she can't help but foist upon the rest of us, even though that's not the conversation that like most true basketball fans are trying to have. It kind of started at the beginning of the year and with Angel Reese and her struggles, and then Caitlin Clark with, you know, her injury riddled and also her struggles when she actually was playing. And you know, it was so much louder, the criticisms and the critiques of Angel Reese. And then, you know, then I kind of figured that this was going to happen. But then there was also a Wall Street Journal opinion piece, and I don't know if you saw that headline, but it said this said the WNBA and Caitlin Clark's civil rights. And basically said that if the WNBA won't protect Caitlin Clark, then the government has a obligation to step in and do so, that she's being hunted and fouled and hurt by other players. I mean, there's an infantilization of women's sports that is, it's even more disrespectful than the outright misogyny sometimes. They literally treat these kids these adults, I say kids, these adults, these adult athletes with kid gloves. And they treat them like they are some fragile, these are professional athletes. These women don't need to be coddled and protected.
No, but you know that is such
sport.
like that they don't actually believe any of that. They don't believe they need to be protected. This is not for a concern for the athlete. This is weaponizing the moment in a way where they're trying to aggrandize an issue that doesn't need to be brought any more into the space. Like, if anybody wants to sit here and go, I think Caitlin Clark sometimes is being fouled a little too often and people are coming after her, sure. She's also the one yelling MFer, getting in people's faces. Like, there is some reciprocity to some of that. And that's just part of being an excellent player, but also being a very bombastic and demonstrative player. That is part of all sports. Like, guys who do excessive celebrations are going to get hit late. You know, there's just parts of that. And instead of us being able to have it in that level, we have to basically hit a primal nerve, go to our lizard brain BS. And Sophie Cunningham, a person who, look, the player podcast thing is terrible for so many reasons. So many reasons. this is the largest part is you're hijacking a narrative with your stupid and bad take. And it's a stupid take. I'm sorry. I don't really care
No,
about I don't
it's vile, and
yeah.
it's not even like subtly racist.
It's
It's full on.
and let's be honest, the catalog she's now building of between dog whistle comments and just overt stuff now,
Yeah.
she doesn't get the benefit of the doubt for what she's trying to say anymore. When you talk about how Nashville or Miami needs a team over Detroit or Cleveland,
yeah, I was going to bring up that comment.
Yeah, when you say,
as a woman who plays in Indiana, and she says that who wants to go to Detroit?
Well, I love, and her whole thing is,
sorry.
I just mean we want somewhere cosmopolitan. I'm sorry. I like Indianapolis, so no shade to Indianapolis. Shout out to St. Elmo's. I've had some good times at some cigar bars there, but give me a break. It is not like at the epitome of cosmopolitan fine living. It is a town that industrial town that's worked its way up and is a beautiful place, much like Detroit, much like Cleveland. Like, give me a break. It's all based on obviously what her kind of personality and her I don't want to say political profile because, but yeah, is founded upon. And I'm not saying that she shouldn't have a space for those things. The whole point of her being able to have a space for those things is also for us to rebut them. But the player podcast thing and the way that it just kind of impugns upon what the conversations we should be having in the middle of the season and the type of what this does to her teammates. The type of bullseye you're going to put on yourself and the people playing alongside you is so unnecessary just for the sake of you getting more clicks, likes, and follows.
Yeah. And I saw her play the other night. She had a really nice game against the Storm. I mean, why can't like it just be about the sport and not about these racially driven comments? Just, I don't want to give this a ton more space. I did want to talk about it, but I just want to say one last thing before we move on to I know you want to talk about the Aces. But I just want to point out that in the entire history of the WNBA, there have been 4 white players who have been MVP. And they might be multiple, but you have Breanna Stewart, Ella Delle Donne, Lauren Jackson, and Diana Taurasi.
Yeah.
And so I'm sorry, who's dominating what sport?
And my favorite is because race is a construct and the entire conversation is stupid. Diana Taurasi can make a very well kind of based argument that she's not white. So the whole thing is dumb in the first place. Let's not do this. It's not necessary.
Unnecessary. It's bad look for the entire W, honestly.
Yeah.
This doesn't need to it doesn't need to happen. So
And coming from a player who, like you said, just had a good game, but you are not part of the conversation of people dominating. You are
you're not dominating anything.
Yeah, you're the third best white girl on your team if we want to actually bring the race into the conversation. I'm just saying.
Yeah, I'll say why all these bench players talking like they starters? That's all. And she's a starter, but still, I think we know where we're going.
And a perfectly fine player. This is just not. Yeah. There are so many different layered levels that the racial conversation, and even again, this is not like a Laura Ingraham shut up and dribble kind of thing. It's just time, place, moment, message. All of it is just jacked.
Yeah. I'm about saying, even if I personally disagree with her politics, which I don't know exactly what those are, I do disagree with any conversation that starts off with like racial prejudice.
Yeah.
So
especially when it's the victimization card on it too. Yeah. Instead of she could have had, again, there's levels and layers to this stuff. I don't want to act like players can't talk about race because it is such an important component to how we play sports. But when you play it as a victimization thing, particularly as an attractive white female, you're really already starting from a point of kind of degrading your entire message.
It's like that meme of the boot on someone's neck, but it's them holding the boot, hands in it, and it's like, yeah, you're oppressed, but like you're the one who placed the target there on your own. No one's like, it's fake. It's a fake victimization. Plus, you were just given how many endorsement deals this year? How many new followers did you get?
Well, the problem is, in all reality, she probably made a business decision here, and this is only going to help aggrandize. The times we're in, her brand is probably going to get a lot stronger because of these messages and the dog whistle and who it brings out.
I'm sure her next endorsement deal is going to be with American Eagle. Anyway,
yeah, we already made that joke on the last one.
Yeah, but I'll say it's coming up. It's coming up next, man. So moving on. I'm sorry, not moving on from. We're moving on from Sophie
From
Cunningham,
her, not from the W.
not from the W. We still have some W talk to go through. And Aaron, I think you wanted the floor. I think you want to cook a little bit
I
about
do want to
your
cook.
Las Vegas Aces.
Yeah, I want to cook, although it's kind of like a painful cooking. I feel like I'm making myself some boiled Brussels sprouts or just, something with fish oil that's some bad medicine. But I went
I
to
got
the
one of those
Ace.
coming later.
I went to the Aces Lynx game. First of
Poor
all,
man.
Kayla McBride, I apologize for on our last podcast saying that you were a tier below terrifying shooters like Steph Curry and Sabrina Ionescu, because then you proceeded to go 8 for 8 from the 3-point line in the first half of a WNBA game. Now, it's crazy because the record for threes made in the game is only 9, and she didn't end up hitting one in the second half. So it's like the Aces finally figured out somebody needed to spot her. And after Kayla McBride's 6-3, which was her 6 wide open 3, I was like, if she hits another one, she walked straight into a wide open 3 on a transition play. And I got up, and the guy behind me was like, it's not even halftime. I'm like, dude, much like we were talking about, my time is money, and I'm not spending it on this anymore. Now, of course, I think they ended up getting skunked by like 44, so I didn't miss much in the second half. Becky is obviously completely tired of this team because she pulled all the starters in the third quarter. A'ja Wilson looks both physically and emotionally exhausted. It's really painful to watch a team kind of just go out like this. They're not going out on their shield, they're going out on their butts. And I don't know how to reconcile that experience with what the experience of watching this team has been in prior years. This started last year, was pretty evident. I thought some of it had to do with the fact that Chelsea Gray being so fundamental to the energy of the team, and obviously just the injuries have just taken her down so many levels that she's just not capable of being the player that she is. But it's not that. It is an attention to detail. It's a focus. Becky's lost this team. I don't expect her to come back. I have a friend who's a journalist who's now kind of believing that to keep an eye on A'ja, maybe walking to Atlanta. This could blow up real bad by the end of the season. And it's a little scary to feel just because of how much I've cared for watching this group play. But at the same time, I'm sitting here like you have to do something really significant. They moved Jewell Loyd to the bench. She's played well off the bench, but it doesn't matter. They're 15 and 14, and there's nobody in the WNBA that's scared of them. Nobody. A'ja's not even maybe one of the 3 best players on a night-to-night basis. She can get there when she wants to. It's just such a weird thing to watch happen so quickly. And obviously, we've talked about how this happens sometimes with teams that get older. This team with Jackie and A'ja and Jewell Loyd really isn't as old as it feels like it is. And that's the other part of it. It's just watching a whole thing dissolve in front of your eyes with nobody's even really trying to put it back together. It's like a sandcastle that somebody poured water over and it's just turning to shit.
I mean, that's fandom in a nutshell. As you sit there with a championship banner behind your head, and with all these great players, and I mean, multiple championship banners, I should say, back to back championship banners. But yeah, I mean, eventually dynasties end. Great teams eventually. These players get older, they move on, they get better contracts, they get traded. All of these things happen eventually, and yeah, I mean, I can understand being a fan of the Aces and watching this. It's very difficult because, like you said, it's not like they're putting up a good fight about it. They're going
No.
out, you know. I think the hardest part for me is watching a team that's not disciplined and doesn't show the right effort. Those are two things that are really those are non-negotiable for me in sports. Teams that I play, teams that I
Yeah,
root for, and that I want to, watch on
yeah,
a nightly basis.
your point is spot on because my issue I left the game not because of the score. I left the game because of the effort. The
Yeah.
effort was pathetic. Watching them get beat up and down the court, made baskets, missed baskets, watching them bail out on assignments. Like people were communicating on rotations, the number of open layups the Lynx got quickly. I cannot continue to, I think the kids say glaze the Lynx enough, but watching them play, I know Napheesa Collier got hurt in the game, but it's not going to matter too much for them. I compared them last season and this season to the 2014 Spurs, and that really holds. Like the way that they play as a connective unit and their ability, everyone on the floor works for the best shot. The ball movement is insane to watch. And then Napheesa Collier, if you just plays the perfect brand of offensive basketball. If she gets a switch, she's posting up hard. If she's outside and she's got somebody, it's a pump fake drive, look to kick, get it. Like it's such a beautiful brand of basketball to watch click right now. And I really hope Collier's injury doesn't hold them up. The trade for DiJonai Carrington only makes them nastier because defensively they were already awesome, but now they can really press out on you with her and just get going. Like that team is a buzzsaw.
I'm great transition, by the way. Love that you brought up the DiJonai Carrington trade. We did want to get to that. The Wings send DiJonai Carrington to the Lynx, which is just an amazing addition for a team that's already dominating the NBA. I believe I'm sorry, the WNBA. I believe they have a 5.5 game lead over the second place New York Liberty. That's just found money right there, adding her to the team, especially with Fee's injury. And I did see that it was only supposed to be 2 weeks. So hopefully she gets back in time, that it's not anything longer than that, because obviously she's having an amazing season. She's the front runner for the MVP. Amazing stuff. Also, another trade that happened today, Brittany Sykes was traded from the Washington Mystics to the Seattle Storm. Ninth year in the W, and she made the All-Star team this year, and it really bolsters a Seattle Storm team that's looking to make a push. I watched them the other night against the Fever. They just come off like an overtime loss, I think, to the Sparks, and they looked very tired. They're second in the league in defensive rating. You wouldn't have known it by watching that game the other night. So I think Sykes is just a real huge addition to a Seattle Storm team that's looking to get in the mix.
Yeah, we've talked about night to night, their effort is really inconsistent, and that's kind of maddening to watch with them because their talent level at their really now they're like top 6 is so high. What's going to be amazing with them is you now get to throw Gabby Williams and Brittany Sykes out there defensively at the same time. Can you imagine trying to be a perimeter player against those two? That's ridiculous to have to contend with. And then you have shot blockers with Malonga and Magbagor back there as well. So they should have, like, this is a team that when things get tight in the playoffs and the offenses get less up and down, it should be to their benefit because the half court, especially with Onyeka Ogwumike, they can be so tactical with how they approach you. And defensively, they have the positional players to lock you the hell down. They are now, I mean, I think they were one of those teams that were kind of scary anyways, because if they got hot at the right time, but looking at that group now, they're not going to be a team you're going to want to play in the first round because there's high upset potential for that group. Meanwhile, they also still have 2 first-round picks. They still have the third and what's projected as the 3rd and the 9th pick because they traded the 10th pick. They had 3 picks that were projected to be top 10 picks in this trade. So it's kind of crazy that they made this deal and they're still set up the way that they are. They've done some really good stuff over the last year.
Yeah. Also, yeah, Malonga coming on the way that she has, damn near averaging a double-double with her 6'6" frame. I mean, she's 19 years old.
She still has no idea how to play basketball. No idea. But she's so gifted. I don't mean that as a knock on her at all, in any way, shape, or form. You can just tell she's figuring out in real time.
Well, I mean, most of her peers would be a freshman or a sophomore in college.
Yeah.
And she's in the W. So she's learning all this stuff on the fly. And obviously, whenever she first started playing, she was getting like 10 minutes a night, averaging maybe 4 points. Now she's getting 19 minutes a night. You know, I think she's up, like I said, almost averaging a double-double with her size, and she's got a skill set. And you can see like the bones of what could be a potentially great player for them. And she's really starting to find herself out there on the floor. And I just really enjoyed watching her play, and obviously I want her to succeed, but it was pretty amazing to watch her play against the Fever the other night. That game was really fun. Like I said, they looked a little disjointed on the offensive side, but the three balls were flying on both ends of the floor. Those girls were letting them fly.
Yeah. I mean, those two teams play a fun brand of basketball that's very different because obviously the Fever want to keep it up and down,
Yeah,
even
they had
without
good
Caitlin
tempo.
Clark going. Yeah, and they, like you said, I mean, everything the Fever does right now is about keeping the tempo high and getting good open threes. Seattle doesn't run quite as much, obviously, just because of the bigs and Onyeka Ogwumike and that stuff. Skylar Diggins in the half court and Onyeka in the half court are beasts. I mean, Skylar
And
Diggins, I
they're
told you,
averaging almost 35 points per game, like combined between the
yeah,
two of them.
and
Uh,
they're two players that in clutch moments scare the hell out of you.
yeah, that's those are battle tested
Yeah,
women
it's
who've
good.
been in, they've been in the fire before. Um, Also, just wanted to add that the Liberty just added Misamin. I need Misamin and Phoebich. One of them has to change their hairstyle when they're on the floor. I didn't know, like a lot of the time, I'm just like, I don't know who just made that pass, who just made that shot. They're both forwards. They're both very similarly sized. They both have their hair and kind of like a top bun right back
Yeah.
here, and they're both like sandy blonde. It's very difficult to tell who was on the floor at the same time.
So the Aces added Dana Evans this year, and Dana
Nice.
Evans is built well, strong guard, long ponytail, dark ponytail that blocks out her number. So her and Jackie Young. Now Jackie's probably got about 2 or 3 inches, but it's difficult to tell at times, and it's funny because the last game, Evan's hair looked shorter, and I was like, I wonder if she just did that so people could know it was her that was balling because she's had some good moments for the team, but they're really difficult to pick out at certain times during. So I feel you literally.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's difficult whenever you add somebody, but Mieseman's just like found money for a Liberty team, especially considering the injury and the timing to Breonna Stewart, waiting
Yeah.
for her to come back. It'll be interesting to see the rotations whenever Stewart does come back, and hopefully, they take their time with her because I think those her injury health is incredibly important to the Liberty, obviously, because she's one of the greatest players to have ever played the game. But also giving Misamin those minutes, especially with the starting unit, is also especially important because she's just coming back over from Belgium. She's been playing Eurobasket and playing over in Europe, and now she's got to get reacquainted with the W because she hasn't been here in a couple of years.
Yeah. Yeah.
She's got a championship medal. She was an MVP of the finals in 2019, and she's getting to watch Sabrina have a huge
Yeah. She's been on a tear.
post-All-Star break run. I think she's averaging 27, 7, and 5
Is that
since
good?
she leads the league in scoring since the All-Star break in the last 6 games.
Yeah.
So, including a 36 and 11 the other night that they desperately needed in that game against the Sun.
It's gonna
Is
be
there any?
rough when she goes out to the Valkyrie for you guys. Anyways,
I know.
got nothing else on the W as of right now. Excited for this week as
A
things
lot of
take
games on tonight.
form. Yeah, I'll be going to the Aces game Friday, hoping to see a better experience because they're playing the Storm.
I
But
did want
so
to bring that up. I did want to bring up one thing that I found out. I think you said it was like a 44-point loss.
yeah,
And then the following game, I think they won by like 20 something,
they
which
did.
is like
Yes,
the biggest difference
swing.
the biggest
Yeah.
swing in WNBA history. So at least they got back right.
They did, and they got back right against a team in the Valkyrie that has given them fits. The Valkyrie
Yeah,
beat them the first game. The second game came
absolutely.
down to the very last play. The Valkyrie are playing so above their level now because
So
of the
fun.
injuries and stuff. It was good to see the Aces come back and give that same effort. But the problem is that's who you should be beating up on. And it's not that I thought they should beat the Lynx, of course. Like the Lynx are the cream of the crop right now, but to give that level of effort and to play that way. And now I'm scared because we talked about the Lynx going into the last game, and now we talked about the Storm going into the next game I'm going to see. So I hope I only said good things about Storm players.
About to say it could get nasty for you yet
Yeah.
again. But I got my fingers crossed because I know you're a fan and I would never root against your team, even though I like the Seattle
I mean,
Storm.
until we battle each other, and then all
Until we
bets are
battle
off.
each other, and then it's a lot of shit talking in the text thread.
Yeah.
That is the tip off. We included the WNBA at the top of the show. We do want to hit some NBA news with the vibe check. First of all, Luka Doncic signs essentially what is a 2-year deal, but it's technically listed as a 3-year deal. Was it three for
165,
165? Okay, so three for
which means
165 with a
which
player
means
option.
which means he's making less annually than the other player we're going to talk about a little bit later on, which is
Yeah, but
kind of
that has to be
hilarious.
pointed out. But I would also like to point out that he has set himself up beautifully to make what will be a record-breaking contract once he declines the player option at the end of this one.
Yeah, wasn't it like 5 for 365 or something stupid?
5 for 418, my friend.
Oh, woo,
5 years,
okay.
418 million living in Los Angeles. So get ready to pucker up and pay that tax bill,
That's
Lakers fans, in a couple
so
of years.
92.5 million a year, something like
I
that.
think it's 83 and a half,
Hey,
but
no, I did. Yeah, excuse me. Yeah, I screwed
yeah,
that up.
about
I was
83 and a
thinking
half
4, not 5.
million.
My bad. Yeah.
Oh boy.
Ooh,
So yeah, enjoy that. But
83 and a
Luke,
half million. That's well, Mark Walters making a lot of money right now in his other business endeavors. And if you don't know what I mean, you can go look it up on your own. That's wild.
Luka was eligible for a 4-year 229. He's obviously set himself up for the future, for the money that he didn't get he would have gotten in Dallas,
Yeah.
which was 5 for 345.
But did he
So
sell the mansion?
I, I mean, he's allowed back in Dallas. I'm not sure if Nico Harrison's allowed within city limits
Well,
on escort, but
Nico will be walking around in a Cooper Flag jersey just to provide himself some coverage anytime he's on the Dallas streets. Yeah.
yeah, but just your initial thoughts on the Luka extension was that, I mean,
I mean, it makes
unexpected.
it's not unexpected. You know, there had been scuttle that maybe Luka wasn't going to be interested in staying, which is crazy. If you're a player, the level of Luka's brand and quality, the Los Angeles Lakers are about as good of a destination as you're going to find, particularly when you didn't have to degrade your own kind of your own brand, and I use a brand a little bit more than I mean to, but by forcing your way there. The circumstances that worked out for Luka to end up with the Lakers is like the best case scenario for a player of his caliber, because he didn't have to suffer some of the stuff that like Shaq or LeBron or people that Kevin Durant moved to that quality of team. Now, granted, I'm not saying that the Lakers were as good as like going to the Warriors were, but when players leave their the team that drafted them for these bigger profiled franchises, obviously that first season they always have to deal with their reputation being tarnished a little bit. Luka didn't have to do any of that. So
Yeah, and
on
he's
top of
instantly beloved in Los Angeles. I mean,
yes,
he's one of the best players in the NBA when he's healthy. He's gotten his conditioning and his body right, at least on magazine covers, as far as we can tell. I mean, his face looks noticeably skinnier. I
yeah,
don't know what that's going to look like whenever he's actually playing basketball, but we'll see. The Lakers have their franchise guy to lead them into the future. He looks great. He seems committed to Lakers basketball, and
I mean,
I mean,
you
that's
know, I
what
was
you
listening.
want, right?
Yeah, and I was listening to the Hoop Collective today, where Tim McMahon, who obviously I've brought up multiple times because Tim McMahon was covering Luka for a while. I also love Tim McMahon's brand of journalism, where he's just very honest. He's not really kind of kissing any asses for the sake of exposure. Was just making really good points, both for Luka and against him, in terms of his buy-in right now and how it's been the best you've ever seen off-season wise. You know, he's going to the New Kids on the Block game with his teammates. He's making all these appearances. He gets, I think, a little bit more what some of the negative components of how he was talked about with Dallas, and he's trying to correct those things. Now, it also helps that you're in LA. That spotlight is brighter than it's ever going to be anywhere else. But he's doing the right things, and that's all we can ask out of these players, even if it feels a little ham-fisted and a little overdone with the staying in shape and all that stuff. That's fine, because there's a level of commitment to franchise and to player from Luka himself. That's all we ask of the guy. Like, what else can we expect? There's
Well,
not.
and I just want to play devil's advocate a little bit here. The negative PR campaign that Dallas waged against him on his way out the door, I think that this positive PR campaign that he's running to rehab his image and to kind of take back a lot of the things that were said negatively against him, I have zero problems with him trying to set the record straight about who he is as a person, who he is as a basketball player, and his overall commitment level to the game. I think it was incredibly disrespectful the way that Dallas went about. It's not the trading, it's the way in which they did it. The fact that he wasn't informed, the fact he that he was smeared on his way out of town, that he was made to a franchise that he obviously cared about. He gave a shit about.
Yeah,
He cared about the fans, about the franchise. I mean, again, I don't know how much of this is actually lip service, but I have to imagine that he did believe that he was going to be a Dirk-like figure in Dallas. That
absolutely.
they would show him the same kind of loyalty that they showed Dirk. But this is a different regime in charge. It's no longer Mark Cuban. It's no longer the same GM. It's not Don Nelson or whoever the hell was in charge whenever Dirk was there. It
Donnie the son, but yeah,
Donnie, yeah.
yeah.
Well, I didn't. Yes, that's what I meant to say. But yeah, I mean, it's not the same. It's not the same regime, and these guys had different thoughts, and they obviously viewed Luca in a light that wasn't overly positive, and they weren't thrilled about the idea of having to pay him the 345 or now the 418 million dollars that he would be owed because he was a guy who didn't take his conditioning and his body seriously. And now he's setting that record straight. And he's still young and he's still supremely talented. And he's one of the biggest draws in the league. And he's had one of the greatest starts to a career we've ever seen in the history of the game. So now,
Despite all those negative things that were
yeah.
thrown out
And
into
now
space.
he's on the New York Yankees, the Dallas Cowboys, the Los Angeles Lakers. That level of worldwide notoriety and the fan base that is as fervent as it is, large.
Yeah.
The, I mean, he's in the. It does make me think that Adam Silver rigged this whole thing. Now that I say it all out loud, yeah, I'm in agreement with you.
You already
That Adam Silver was like, okay, you make this trade, I'll give you Cooper Flag, but you got to get this guy over to LA.
and it helps us increase the value of the franchise before the franchise is sold. So
So
all the
yeah, there's
owners
a
get
lot. There's a lot
the
there.
like I said, I will be like Charlie from It's Always Sunny, pointing to the white dry erase board with all the pins connecting the strings. I have tried to be like at least tempered about it, but this is one conspiracy theory where I'm like, yeah, I'm kind of full buy-in now because the more you talk it out, you're like, there's too much happens. Like things like I am an Occam's razor guy, but the simplest solution doesn't even apply to the amount of shit that happened in this circumstance.
Yeah, just saying that all out loud. I'm firmly in the camp that was rigged. All right,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
good for the Lakers. Good for Dallas. They got their restart as a franchise without having to pay some guy they weren't super high on. So
Yeah.
okay, that was the vibe check. Thank you for joining in on that. Now we are going to cover our next division in basketball. That would be the Southwest Division after we covered the Southeast last week. So if you want to catch up on our review of the Southeast Division, that's on last week's podcast, beautifully named by Aaron, Sally Jesse ATL. This time we are talking about the Southwest Division, which is the Houston Rockets, the Dallas Mavericks, the San Antonio Spurs, the Memphis Grizzlies, and the New Orleans Pelicans. Just like we did last week, Aaron, I want to start with the team that we obviously think is going to finish last in the division, but it is a team that we have talked about a lot. So I would like to keep that one brief. We have talked about the Pelicans and their offseason quite a bit.
Yes, but
I understand.
But for the sake of this one, the conversations don't just have to be about their additions. I do want to talk a little bit of just about trying to forecast what we see for them. I get what you're saying.
Sure,
I don't need to hammer home Jeremiah Fears or Derek Lively, although I have a point to make, or Derek Queen, excuse me. Although I do have a point to make about Jeremiah Fears that's also going to be tied to Jordan Poole, that's tied to this team projecting in terms of turnovers. But let's go.
All right. The New Orleans Pelicans, who finished 14th in the West with a 21-61 record, they were just maligned with injuries. DeJounte Murray tore his right Achilles. His timetable is still uncertain. He tore it in late January. Not sure when he will be back. Usually that takes at least a year. That would, put him in the middle of this upcoming season. Trey Murphy III, on March 17th, he tore his labrum and he partially tore his rotator cuff. He did give an update a couple of weeks ago that his injury, he's just waiting to be cleared for contact drills, that he's back working out, that he's shooting again. So obviously would love to see a full season from Trey Murphy. They're the lone real bright spot of their season last year. That wasn't just until he was absolutely marred with injuries, just along with everybody else on his team.
Yeah.
Just about half the roster last year got shut down with injuries. It's tough. But on the positive side, a nice re-up from Herb Jones, 3 years, $58 million, another team-friendly contract for Herb Jones. Zion Williamson, obviously shut down at the end of last season. He's supposedly back. We have Jordan Poole incoming, and outgoing goes CJ McCollum. So we have a projected starting five of Jordan Poole, Trey Murphy III, Herb Jones, Zion Williamson, and Misi.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
how do we feel about the New Orleans Pelicans going into next season, Aaron?
I feel like when we talk about that starting five, we need to include that they were the 29th ranked defense last season, and
Almost
nothing.
120 points a game.
Yes, and nothing they did made them better defensively. It probably only made them worse because best now you're going to get Herb Jones back, and Trey Murphy is a good defensive player. He's not great, but he's a good defensive player with good length, averages over a steal per game and 0.7 blocks per game, which is good from a wing position. But you're going to be relying on a lot of young players. You're adding Jordan Poole, who is obviously a negative defensive player, and Jeremiah Fears and Derek
Who is
Queen.
an undersized guard.
Yeah, and they didn't have good defensive profiles coming in, but rookies, more importantly, there's just a level of adjustment unless you're an elite defensive player. So everything kind of has to start with the fact that I just don't have any conceptualization of how this is going to be a functional defense against the West. The West is going to be stacked. They don't have, Kevin Looney and Yves Missi are a completely fine rotation, but there's not a lot of interior heft against these double big lineups, and you can't play those two guys together. Although Missi can move his feet well enough to stay in front of some other bigs, but offensively that really handicaps you because neither of those guys can shoot a perimeter jump shot at all or do much in space. Although Looney did hit a couple threes last season, which was a whole thing, but the parts just don't fit at all. This is such an ill-fitting group. And then the bigger issue is just the Zion of it all. This guy has played 30 games or less in 4 of his 6 NBA seasons.
Yeah.
That is crazy. And so there's no reason to be able to rely on him separate of the fact that you're already starting at a deficit with DeJounte Murray being injured. The Jordan Poole edition, you can feel however you want about Jordan Poole's season last year. It was his best season. He has also shot better than 43.2% from the field once in his entire career, and his assist to turnover ratio last year was 1.5. This team was 19th in turnovers, and the 2 guards they added were Jordan Poole with the aforementioned 1.5 assist to turnover ratio, and Jeremiah Fears, who had 26 turnovers to 13 assists in Summer League.
Mm-hmm.
How's that do it for you?
He had a negative turnover ratio. Yeah.
Yeah. He had a -1. That's not, or I don't even know if I can do the math on that. That's
not great. It was 2-1.
2-1. Negative. Yeah.
I don't even know how you.
Yeah. How do you do the math?
And then you also have to, and then it's the money part of this because you look at Troy Weaver and incoming GM Joe Dumars. President of basketball operations. You got Zion on the books for almost 40. You got Poole's 31 and 32 million, which is you traded an expiring contract from CJ McCollum to get 2 years of Jordan Poole making similar money. So you just extended the CJ McCollum, but with a worse player.
Yeah. So instead of having an asset that you could have traded for something at the trade deadline and possibly gotten off of money, right? Now instead you have a guy that you're probably not going to be able to trade to anybody who you're on the hook for longer. That's real good dealing.
And also that they traded their unprotected first round pick next year in a team that's very clearly going to be bad. In a team, like you said, that does not make sense. And then the third person who's making almost 31 million is not going to play next year probably at all. Yeah. DeJounte Murray. So that's $108 million. Going to guys
the New Orleans sunken costs.
Yeah, someone needs to teach Joe Dumars the sunk cost fallacy. Yeah. It doesn't mean that because you already are spending money that you need to spend more to double down.
It loops back around. Isn't that how it works? Like you dig yourself a big enough hole. It's like a cartoon going to China. All of a sudden you come back around and you're back to the top.
Yeah. We already talked about Fears and Queen, the 2 rookies they added. They also added Sadiq Bey.
Coming
Kevon,
off of a major injury himself.
yep, Kevon Looney and Jaden Springer to kind of round out that lineup. They got Trey Alexander on a two-way. They still got Alvarado. They still got Jordan Hawkins. I mean, the problem is with this team is that they have a lot of pieces that I do like, and
Yes.
then, but like as you said, as a unit, none of this makes sense. The depth chart is not gonna like it. It looks pitiful. And it's
Also, if you line their guards up with Hawkins, Poole, Alvarado, and Jeremiah Fears, we're all looking over the top of their heads. That's your guard rotation.
yeah, you and I who are what 6'2" and 6'3".
Yeah, we're all looking over those guys.
Yeah, that's. I don't want to talk about the Pelicans anymore.
We're
They make
done.
me
That
sad.
it didn't have to be long. We did what we needed
Yeah,
to
we
do.
did. Every bit of that. I don't know if if any Pelicans fan was listening to this podcast. I I
I
don't.
sat at a summer league game with a Pelicans fan who was willing to bet that they were going to be a top 6 seed in the playoffs, and I was just like, I don't really feel like engaging with this guy who's obviously wasted because
I'm
that's
sorry. I would have taken his money.
yeah. I mean, when I'm at summer league, I just kind of have like my blinders on,
I
like
know.
a
I
horse.
remember you don't like people talking to you.
Yeah,
Um,
but
yeah, that's that. I'm sorry. I would have. That's just free money.
yeah, that's irrational
Um,
confidence of its finest.
yeah. So now that we've gotten the Pelicans talk out of the way, this, I believe, may be one of the deepest divisions in basketball next season. So you and I said that we like to go from
Yeah,
bottom.
but we got to do
top.
records.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. Good.
We got to
Good
pick
point.
their records. Yeah.
Yes. I honestly believe they will lose. They will lose more than they lost last year, where they lost 61 games. I do believe that this team will finish with a 20-60 record, and I'm going to go. I'm going to pin that in. I'm going to go a loss less.
So I wrote all mine down and I kind of hedged. Without Zion, 19-63. With him, 32-50. But 19-63 is my final answer because betting on Zion actually playing is as crazy as betting on the Pelicans making the playoffs this year.
Well, there are
Playing
plenty of
substantial
guys,
number of games.
there are plenty of guys in this division that people that I've talked to and people that I've listened to and people I've had conversations with have basically just factor in that they are going to miss games. I think that's
Yeah.
a big part of this. Is an older division. It's a bit of a stacked division as far as just like the amount of talent that's there, but also it's a veteran laden division. And most people are, and we're going to get to a lot of those players, obviously.
Although, again, with Zion, this is his 7th season. I believe
Yeah.
he's 26.
He's a veteran still. That's veteran.
No, but I'm just saying, like,
yeah, he's not.
he's young. He's younger than Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, who we keep talking about as being a young superstar. You know what I mean? Like, but
Exactly.
it feels like Zion's been with us forever, even though we never see him.
I think it's just because it's the same way that we kind of followed LeBron, like through the college and like the way he was coming up through high school. I mean, he's been this touted prospect for so long that it's just like he feels like he's been a part of our lives for a decade. But yeah, he's only 7 NBA seasons and one college season where he blew out a shoe.
Yes,
But yeah,
I may have already said this on the podcast though. Perhaps the most impressive athletic specimen I've ever seen at the collegiate level live.
yeah.
I was fortunate to
said
see him
that.
a game against Jose Alvarado, actually, and in warmups, he uncorked a dunk where it was like, this guy is floating. It's a dirigible just taking off and just gracefully, but that's kind of done with him. And we'll see whether or not he comes in shape and focus. There's been plenty of talk about that. And obviously, he's got the off court issues to deal with. So,
Poor Willie Green. I just feel bad for the guy. But like I said, we're done talking about the Pelicans. We're moving on. So, my question to you, Aaron, who do you have finishing fourth in this division next season?
I've got the Dallas Mavericks finishing
Ah,
fourth
ha,
in the
ha, this is
division.
going to be fun. All right.
You had the Grizzlies?
I did have the Grizzlies, but we'll obviously get to them.
Yeah.
That was my thought, but I kind of vacillated between the two of them. I think it's going to be a lot closer. The Mavericks last year, the winners of the NBA lottery by purely error and
By the most amazing luck and having
Yeah,
nothing
just
to do
great
with Luka
luck, that's
Doncic
all.
trade or the sale of any professional teams or any of that.
I don't I have too many Dallas Mavericks fans in my life, and they're irrationally excited about this team who finished 39-43 last year, who were third in their division. Um, so obviously the big story in this is they've added Cooper Flag. But I did want to have a conversation just real quickly. I've looked up and down all these other teams and just assume that I'm excluding the Pelicans because I don't want to talk about them anymore. This may be the deepest division, not only in like talent, but also just the depth of roster. There are at least 11 guys on every one of these other teams that we're going to talk about that are real NBA rotational guys that you would feel comfortable giving 15 to 20 minutes a night to. But you've got 11 of them on almost every one of these teams. So that's the thing that stood out to me the most in the Southwest Division is how I mean you look at this roster. I'm just going to kind of read some of these guys off. Obviously, these aren't the starters or anything or in any order, but you've got Max Christie, Anthony Davis, Cooper Flagg, Daniel Gafford, Jaden Hardy, Kyrie, who's obviously going to miss some time with the injury, Derek Lively, Najee Marshall, Caleb Martin, which is iffy if he's a real rotational guy. Um, Omax Prosper, D'Angelo Russell, Klay Thompson, PJ Washington, Brandon Williams. That's a lot of guys. That's a deep roster, but there's also a lot of positional overlap. So how do you feel about this Dallas Mavericks roster as currently constructed? And I know you have the projected starting five listed up here, and we can kind of talk that out a little bit too.
Well, I mean, I think your point is a very fair one about the entire division, and particularly this Mavericks team. They did a really good job last year finding guys who could just fill in the many, many holes that they had to, want to talk about a group besieged by injuries and obviously the trade and everything else. We talked about on the podcast last season. They got to the point where they'd used so many 10 days. Moses Brown, who played very well for them, even though I don't know what Moses Brown is as an NBA property, couldn't stay on the team because they'd extended all their two ways, and so they had been really smart about constructing a lot of depth. Now, the problem that I have with that is too many of these guys are one. I mean, I still don't know what Omax Prosper is like a day-to-day guy. Same with
Mhm.
Brandon Williams, even though Brandon Williams had some good moments.
I
Then you
think
have,
those are two guys that still have some juice.
yeah, Caleb Martin. I'm not really that big of a fan, and he's got injury concerns. Najee Marshall played way over his head. If that is the Najee Marshalls that they get again this year, they hit on some gold with that guy as an addition last season.
I
He
really,
might have,
I really like that addition to their team last year. But the
but
way
what
that
he
it
gave them
started out,
offensively was like, I mean, he went from a guy, I think he averaged 13 last year, and before that, he had never averaged over 9. Like, he was doing
yeah,
some
no, I
stuff for
mean,
them.
he also had an increased role, and obviously, the benefits of playing alongside a much better team, going from the Pelicans to the Mavericks. But
We
yeah,
weren't
yeah,
supposed
you're
to
right.
talk
They're
about them
bringing,
anymore.
yeah, well, he was one of their skis. It's not my fault you brought him up.
Yeah. No, but so one of the things that I'm not concerned, interested to see is you had guys that put up some good numbers when they scaled up. What does their
Sure,
performance look like when they're diminished a little bit? And that's not a knock on the guys, but it's a little bit easier to get going when you have more consistent playing time for certain guys. There's a lot of depth here. There is also a lot of injury concerns. Anthony
absolutely.
Davis,
Klay
like you can't.
Thompson.
Anthony Davis, Klay Thompson, yeah. Look, Kyrie's going to miss however much time with the torn ACL. I believe he tore it in February, if I'm
Yeah,
correct.
and then the Lively, he had surgery on his eye.
Yeah, and he's a guy that keeps kind of getting. I think part of it is because of how he plays. He plays
He
such
plays
a
very physical.
Daniel Gafford and Lively get nagging injuries very often. This has been a
Mhm.
thing with Gafford his entire career because they play so hard. So that depth is great, but that depth isn't as valuable if you're not a healthy team to be able to take advantage of it, whereas guys are kind of being put into different roles. And so that's one of my major concerns with this group. And then the second one is just, what is this offense going to be? Because I don't love D'Angelo Russell. He is a good player in the pick and roll. So the idea of him and Anthony Davis in the pick and roll together, but D'Angelo Russell, like as an offensive property, he's an inefficient hooker who makes flashy passes, but often doesn't make the right pass.
Yeah.
And they are counting on him to really be their only distributor on this team. Cooper Flagg's going to be playing point forward for some minutes,
That was
obviously.
my thought when I
Yeah.
looked at this team was that they're going to give a lot of the point guard responsibilities to Cooper Flagg, and I think DeJounte Murray is going to be I'm sorry, DeJounte Murray. D'Angelo Russell is going to be. I think he's going to be kind of a smoke screen as far as bringing the ball up the floor. I think they're going to do a lot of those DHO offense starts where like Cooper Flagg comes up and takes the ball from him, and that initiates the offense. And but the idea is that they're going to use D'Angelo Russell as if he's some like great spot up shooter. And I would say in the 22-23 season, he shot 39.6% from three. In the 23-24 season, he shot 41.5% from three. Last year, he shot 31.4% from three.
And also, who was getting him those shots those 2 seasons?
Yeah. Yeah, he
Yeah.
spent a little bit of time with this guy. I think you know him.
You and I have talked about this so many times, but anytime I see a player's shooting percentages take a huge spike and they're playing with Nikola Jokic or LeBron James, it
Oh,
kind of
yeah.
devalues the spike to me because those guys are
Yeah.
getting you the best shots in the right
That's
places.
what I'm
And
saying. And they don't
yeah,
have that kind of distributor or like pass first point anything
yeah,
unless Cooper Flags accelerates his development in that regard. I mean, he's a good passer already. We've seen it.
he's a phenomenal passer
Yeah,
positionally,
got great vision.
but the thing that we have to remember is rookies don't impact winning nearly as much as we'd like to think they will. Even when they're great, just because of
Even
the
when they
amount of
generate, yeah, I mean,
the learning curve, the stuff that they have to adapt to, what he's going to have to do, some of the inefficiencies in his game, those he's going to come in and be awesome a lot of nights.
yeah.
But I don't think that Cooper Flag comes in and is good. Like, first of all, I don't think he'll be good for any wins necessarily for this team because I actually have them winning less games this year than last year. Just because the offense concerns me, and I think the West is going to be better, and they're not going to be able to, you know, they were a much more sensible team before they made their trades, and then they kind of scuffled but played hard. They did some cleaning up in terms of wins in the last part of the season when teams are not at their best. And so I tend to devalue that last month where a record is concerned
Always,
as well.
always. I never talk about March to April stats. I
Yeah.
don't.
So I think Dallas is going to be plucky and they're going to be really fun to watch
Yeah.
defensively. And there's going to be a lot of fun stuff night to night in terms of what they do. But I think their offense is going to get stuck in the mud at
Yeah.
times and look real rough. I don't love when Anthony Davis has to be your primary offensive player. I like it better when he's your second option just because of how he has to get into his stuff. We'll see what
I will say,
happens.
I will say that I don't think that Flag could be walking into a better situation as far as like the amount of talent or like not like current talent, but like their legacy as talents.
Yeah.
Kyrie and obviously, Anthony Davis and Kyrie, they're older, but these guys are, they're top 100 guys of all time who've ever played this game. I mean, they're gonna be, and then you've got someone like Klay Thompson with his championship pedigree, one of the greatest shooters of all time. We have him penciled in as a starter. Is there any world in which he's not?
No.
Is Klay Thompson gonna be a six man?
Oh, you mean Clay?
Yeah, no,
I'm sorry.
not Cooper.
I missed the trick. Well, who? Okay, so let's do the thought exercise. Who's the
Yeah.
starter then in that situation, though?
I mean, that's a good question. I thought they'd go somebody a little bit more defensive minded, but maybe like Max Christie or Najee Marshall.
I think that there's a very good chance that if Clay is struggling, and people need to remember, look, I'm as big a Clay acolyte as you're going to find. The
Yeah.
man has had summer. Good for him. Like that dude is a maverick in more than one sense.
I'll say he's a maverick with the stallion.
Exactly. That's there we go. My man is doing the work, but he shot 41.2%, which was his worst percentage of his career last year, and he only averaged 14 points per game. He's going to have worse distribution to where he needs to get the ball and he can't create his own shot. So I have major concerns about what he looks like. And if he's struggling, Max Christie definitely could slide in. Max Christie showed some good stuff with the Mavericks. He also was pretty inefficient as a scorer himself. So he needs to prove that he can. He showed me more once he got to Dallas than I thought he was capable of, just in terms of like, oh, I see more of that upside that people were talking about. I wasn't as big on him. I still don't think he's like more than like maybe topping out at 15 points per game.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I mean, but like Max Christie is going to be walking into that starting lineup as like the fourth or fifth option as far as the scoring. He's there for defense, hustle, and for the intangible stuff.
Except for if you're replacing Clay, you have to be. They have so little shooting in that starting lineup. Now that's going to depend.
Yeah, that might be the only reason that keeps Clay in the starting lineup.
Now that'll also depend on what Cooper shoots it like. But again, he's a rookie who's still got to figure some stuff out. If he shoots over 36% from three, I would be surprised, not like greatly shocked. But like to me,
How do we feel about the jumbo front court? The with Flag, Davis, and Lively, and some form of Lively Gafford.
I feel like because of what Cooper Flag can do defensively, it should look awesome. But also, Cooper Flag's
Offensively, it might look a little stagnant.
well,
It's hard for me
no,
to say.
I it can make sense offensively because of how much Cooper Flag can do on the perimeter and how much he can do as a distributor, and thinking about stuff like running big on big pick and roll with him or Anthony Davis or Derek Lively. Like that's really exciting because Flag can access passing angles that really nobody else can because of his size, his leaping ability, and how good of a passer he is. It can make sense, but it's going to take a lot of time for them to figure out the spacing, Cooper's shooting, Cooper's defending some of the better wings because he's going to be a little overmatched when he's going against really shifty athletic threes. He can do a lot defensively, but moving his feet in front of those guys are things I have a little bit of concern of for him. So it's going to be stuff. But the one thing I will say is Jason Kidd and the Mavericks have been able to figure out how to put together a good defense year in and year out. So with them defensively, if they can just do enough with that group offensively, defensively, they could be a beast.
Uh, PJ Washington maybe sliding into that Klay Thompson role if they need
Yeah,
to.
PJ at the I don't love PJ at the two.
That's a big
yeah,
team.
Yeah, and I just don't like him defending twos is really
That sounds
suboptimal.
like a nightmare for them,
Yeah.
which is why I think they won't do it. But
Yeah.
Klay defending twos doesn't give me that much more like
That's very fair.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, they're going to be. I think that's kind of what my initial thought was whenever I looked at this roster was that they're going to be looking for guard depth at some point, even though they have Kyrie coming back, hopefully at some point. But there is an entire possibility that he doesn't play at all next year.
Yeah.
And I do think that they need it, even though they handed him that extension as a gesture. It's definitely a loyalty thing.
And in fairness, Kyrie technically by doing that, it helped them out a little bit financially as well. Like he could have taken more money if he saw it to the end, and so it was a mutually beneficial situation.
Absolutely, but I'm just saying, like I think they're going to need guard depth at some point. I feel like some combination of those guys that we mentioned before with Marshall and Washington and all those guys. I think those guys are valuable players. I mean, PJ Washington has shown like that once he left Charlotte, he killed the Thunder 2 years ago with his, outside shooting. And he, was.
And his toughness is not fake.
Yeah, it's like not. He's a real guy. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's a real tough guy out there. So, yeah, I think that's important.
This feels like a team that has to be in play for CJ McCollum, possibly, come trade deadline. That would make some sense. I know there's been
expiring $30 million. Yeah. I mean,
because you can take a flyer on him
afterward.
Yeah, you can probably figure that out with a combination of guys that don't necessarily kill you. And if they're looking for more scoring punch from the guard position and they can absorb, much as they're already going to have to with D'Angelo Russell and Klay Thompson, they can absorb guards that are defensive liabilities because of what their backside
because of the backline defense. Absolutely. Yeah. So what's your record for the Dallas Mavericks next season?
So did we give all their stuff with their record and all that? Did we go through?
Oh, yeah, I said they were 39 and 43.
Okay.
I didn't say their offensive rating, they were 18th, their defensive rating, they were 20th. Those numbers are incredibly skewed based on the injuries that happened and the Luka trade. So I don't really put much stock into that. I think they're going to be a good defensive team. I think like you, I think they're going to have a rough offensive team. I think they're going to make life hell for a lot of teams. There's going to be nights where I think they're going to hold people in the 80s and low 90s.
I think
so like they might just win games by default that way.
So I have them going 34 and 48, and this is why.
Interesting.
Anthony Davis has played 56 or fewer games in 5 of his last 7 seasons. And I just don't trust the fidelity of his body for an entire stretch. And he's too important to what they look like overall. If he goes down, this team is going to struggle. And I think they'll struggle more than we felt like they did last season. Because once again, when he kind of went down at that point, they could be the plucky team kind of picking off. And like, if Anthony Davis doesn't play 65 plus games, they're going to have a hard time.
I absolutely agree. I am a little bit higher on Dallas than you are. I have them at 40 and 42.
Okay.
So one game better than they finished last year.
Yeah.
And they finished 10th in the West last year. So they
Yeah.
were in the plan. That's I think the West is better. So that
Yeah.
record, we'll see if that's
And
enough to
that's
the playoffs.
part of why I have their record down as well, is just because I think the West is going to be better,
That's
and I
very
don't.
fair.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I revised it. I think I had them 42 and 40, and I revised it to 40 and 42, which I
Okay.
know it's not that big of a difference, but it's a losing record. It's just a couple of game swing, but it's just the way I think that's just like the way I looked at it. I I don't know what this team is, and I that's the crazy thing. I could see them winning 45.
Yeah.
I could see them winning like what you said, 34.
Yeah.
And it's really just all health dependent. And Kyrie's, AD's, everybody's. Clay, like, I mean, this is an older team, too. A
And
lot
if
of,
Kyrie comes back in January, like
yeah,
he's a guy that's going to work out hard and get healthy. I could look foolish because he could come
yeah,
back and completely. This roster makes so much more sense once Kyrie's healthy, and I just don't know what we're going to see from him, and if it's going to be too little, too late by the time he returns. But that may not be the case. Maybe he comes back and he's gangbusters, and like you said, they could all of a sudden be 45, 46 wins.
yeah. I mean, I worry about Kyrie because it's the same knee. He's injured 3 times, but, he's a very, like, health conscious person. And
He's got vegan powers.
yeah, and he's got native healing powers. And,
Yes.
we know how I feel about the native folk. They are my people.
Yes.
I am from the red state. So there you go. So I'm assuming that you have the Memphis Grizzlies as
Oh
third.
no, I have them winning the division. Yes, they're
I
third.
was about to say we're about to have that is your spiciest take.
Yeah, no, that would have been extra hot. Like, yeah, that's the ninth wing on Hot Ones.
Yeah, no kidding. That's the bomb.
Yeah.
Um, the Memphis Grizzlies, who were 48 and 34 last year, finished second in their division, but seventh in the West.
Doesn't it feel wild to say that team last year was 48 and 34?
And I also find it wild to say that they were only seventh. 48 wins get you seventh in the West.
Yes.
Damn.
Yeah.
That's a tough get, and you end up having to fight your way out in the play-in, and then you get to play the
The Thunder and the
yeah, they end
Thunder
up getting the Thunder in the 8th seed.
absolutely
And,
crushed them. And then the one
that-
game where they were, remember the one game where they were playing well, they're up 30. Ja goes down, and then the Thunder come back and lay them to
one of
waste.
the biggest comebacks in playoff history happens to you on your home floor. That hurts. That hurts a
Yeah.
lot. This is another team that I absolutely have no idea what they are and what they're going to be. But you know what? You look at the roster, you look at all the guys that are coming back from injury, the guys they re-signed, the guys they acquired, and then the guys that, well, the big departure.
I don't want to skip over for them either. They were 6th in offensive rating and 11th in defensive rating on the season.
Yeah, they were like 9th in net rating. I don't understand how they were like.
The first 3 quarters of the season, they banked so much equity that they didn't lose it all when they were dog crap the last quarter of the season. I mean, they kind of got it together a little bit towards the end. Timo Ilasu, their coach, was 4-5 to close the regular season, and then unfortunately got swept in the playoffs.
Okay, no, I actually wrote this down because I want to get the pronunciation right. Tuomas Isalo.
I was so close.
It's like Thomas, but with a W. Tuomas Isalo.
Tuomas Isalo.
Yeah, I know. I wrote it down because of how badly I flubbed a couple of the names last week, and I'm gonna be more conscious because I want to make sure this is an NBA coach. I ought to know his name.
Yeah,
and
he's Ti, but sure, I respect
Ti
it.
Works for me. Ti works for me. I mean, he is Atlanta, and we are talking Memphis.
Yeah,
it's
what you know about that.
What you know about that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we have this Grizzlies team. Out goes Desmond Bane to the Orlando Magic. In comes Kentavious Caldwell Pope. In comes Ty Jerome. In comes Jock Landale. And well, they had a chance to I'm sorry, who was involved in the trade that they ended up cutting and sent them? They bought out and sent to Milwaukee.
Cole Anthony.
Cole Anthony. That's right. Out goes Cole Anthony off the team. But they brought back Santi Aldama, who I'm a big fan of. Brandon Clark, hopefully coming back from injury. Cedric Howard, also a rookie coming in. Gigi Jackson, Jaron Jackson, John Conchar. Again, this is a very deep team. Scottie Pippen Jr., John Morant, Jalen Wells. I mean, this is a team that's they have a lot of depth, and I think they can have a really tough defensive identity with Edie and Triple J coming in healthy. Now that's the problem. Are those two guys going to be healthy? We've already got Edie having ankle surgery. Jaron Jackson Jr. is like turf toe?
Yeah, he had turf toe surgery.
Yeah.
Also, while we're talking about their roster, we've got to make sure I give shout out to Cam Spencer because the Spencer brothers are two of my favorite like ancillary NBA players. For those who don't know, they're brothers that played lacrosse growing up. Pat Spencer is the one who went ham in the Rocket series and tried to get in fights like in two
Number
different games.
66 on the
Yes.
Warriors.
Cam Spencer's the one who went crazy
61.
in a game against, I believe, the Suns when Kevin Durant was just like, what is up with this dude? Pat Spencer at Summer League. I was there with my buddy who's a longtime Warriors fan. Pat Spencer was walking the crowd, and not a single person knew who he was. And you have to understand, like, the autograph hawks in Summer League are wild. If they sniff somebody famous, they're going after you. Like, there was literally a point where Lethal Shooter was there, and some guy was like, I don't even know who this is, but he has 4 million followers. Pat Spencer was walking through. Nobody even like turned their head. They had no clue who he was. I think they just thought he was an agent.
Pat Spencer looks and sounds like my insurance agent, not like
give that guy a an Allstate ad or something. Like we've got the brand.
I mean, he is the new Jake from State Farm. It's Pat
Yes.
Golden State.
Yeah.
I don't know. I swear,
He
man.
and Dean Wade, if they don't make it as professionals, should
My
start a
God.
tag team wrestling. They should be a tag team. It should be like the insurance agents.
Or yeah, start a law firm.
Yeah.
And Spencer.
Yeah.
Attorneys at law. Those guys, I mean, they got a future somewhere.
Yeah. Anyways, fun tangent. Okay, Cam Spencer's a fun guy to watch because they're crazy. I hijacked that.
I know. I really like this team. But I don't know. Like the exodus of Bane was definitely a financial move. And it was also I think it was kind of a sign to both Jackson and to Morant that the team is all in on them, even though they're the two least consistent as far as just like health and availability. But this is who the Grizzlies are choosing to, put their banner around and to ride into the future with. Like I said, last season they were 48 and 34. That's not some pitiful record. They did fire Taylor Jenkins. There were some offensive woes. John Morant was very up and down, out of the lineup often. As you pointed out, the fourth straight year, his points per game has dropped. I also wanted to point out that for me, the biggest concern with John Morant is his free throw rate has been going down. He was at 8.4 free throw attempts per game. I'm sorry. He's down to 6.4 last season from 8.1 in 22-23. He also averaged his highest turnover rate per game last season. Now, what is Morant's future if he can't shoot and he can't rely on his athleticism? What is his future in the league?
So one of the things we do need to see is obviously there was a lot of issues with the change of offense in terms of John Morant's feeling for that. So yeah. I do want to see what John looks like. There was also the whole I'm not dunking anymore thing, which felt as performative as it did substantive.
Well, and he also broke that immediately the next game with that ridiculous dunk in Boston. I mean,
yeah,
it didn't.
Exactly. Yeah. Which is my point. It just felt like he needed to say something. My concern with Jaw is when you watch him now, I think a couple things have happened. Obviously, teams have no issues allowing him to shoot. And until he can keep a defense honest with that, it's much easier to defend him, even though he's still such a blur in the open court and can get around. The thing that concerned me is when you watch him when he's finishing now, what used to look kind of graceful, balletic, and athletic now looks like he bails out too often, almost like some of the times he's trying to avoid that contact. And I think that's a direct reflection of the injury issues for him and the fact that he's not a great free throw shooter, even though he makes them in the big moments. if those continue to become problematic in his game, they allow him to just be a lesser version of himself in a way that really kneecaps what's the best version of Ja Morant. And even Ja as a B plus version of himself, I think he averaged 24 last year. He's still really dangerous. And with Jaren Jackson, there is obviously a lot there on the offensive end that you can like. There's just too many issues that keep popping up with this team come playoff time. I have too many concerns about who's their third best player. I feel like Cedric Coward's going to be relied on a little bit too much to be a shot maker for this group because I
I
don't
do
like
think
this.
I do think he was brought in to replace Bane, and I think that's a little bit much to ask from a guy that was drafted in his position.
Now, in fairness, Jalen Wells, who was really good defensively last year, actually came out of Washington State, oddly enough, the same place Cedric Coward came out of,
Yep.
even though Coward only played 7 games. As an offensive player. So this Jalen Wells is going to be given an opportunity to cook a little bit more, and it'll be interesting to see if there's something there. The Grizzlies always know how to develop players into really good players. I just don't know what's the conceptualization of this group that makes me go, yes, like I totally get it. I think they're going to take a little bit of a step back as they try to figure out all these kind of new parts of how they are with now a full season of TI, trying to figure out who's their third option. I don't love the addition of Ty Jerome only because Ty Jerome's liabilities to me don't benefit the Grizzlies. And at the same time, you kind of take away from what I really liked with Scottie Pippen Jr. because I don't know how much you can play Scottie Pippen Jr. and Ty Jerome together because I think Ty Jerome's best on ball. And Scottie Pippen kind of switch back and forth and do some stuff. But I think sometimes you can have too much depth. And I feel like that's been an issue a little bit with Memphis where
Yeah.
they're you're playing 13 guys and you like what a lot of guys are doing, but you don't ever feel like the top 5 are doing enough. Jaren Jackson still can't rebound. The fact that he's had one season in his career over 6 rebounds per game is weird.
I have another crazy stat for you involving Triple J. He averages for his career more blocks per game and more turnovers per game than he does assists per game.
Wow, that's
1.9 blocks and 1.9 assists to 1.9 turnovers to 1.5 assists per game for his career.
That's not great, especially
He's
for
never
a guy
averaged more than 2 assists per game.
Yeah, and 2 years ago he had a real high usage rate for that to not be the case. Which
Yeah,
means he's
I mean it's crazy to me because they're going to need him to be a secondary creator on the offensive end, and I don't know if that's something that he's capable of doing. He has never shown that he's a willing or good passer, and he shot, his second best 3-point percentage last year. He's a good offensive player. He's a great shot blocker. He's a great roamer, especially with Zach Edey on the floor. He can kind of just play free safety out there. I think that's where he's most comfortable. But yeah, if the Grizzlies are going to go absolutely anywhere, it has to involve the evolution of his game to support Ja Morant because he's the on-ball dominant one who's getting people open, averaging 7.4 assists per game last year. I want to see Morant's assist level stay there. I just want to see an uptick in what Triple J is doing and getting his teammates involved. Can he find open shooters? Can he find Edey in the short roll or in the dunker spot? Can he hit Ja Morant on some backdoor cuts and get the offensive moving? Because whenever he gets the ball, he's a bit stagnant. He kind of is a ball stopper.
Well, he tends to get his head down and he wants to get into either his left hand hook or the fadeaway. Like that's. But I didn't realize
this is an unfair comparison, but that's a very Julius Randle looking offensive style.
Is it unfair?
Julius Randle evolved a little bit out of that. He's become a better passer. Yeah. Can Triple J, as young as he is, he add that to his repertoire? That's what I'd like to see.
I think that's fair. Mm-hmm. So what do you have them?
This one's really hard, and I have them above Dallas too, but I vacillated again between which one of these teams was going to be better. And I told you I kind of flopped the numbers on Dallas, and I have them finishing 41 and 41, one game better than Dallas.
I had them at 40 and 42, but after this conversation, I'm going to have them at 42 and 40 because I do think that there's a good chance that they're going to come out looking good again. And then we'll just have to see what the fidelity of Ja's body looks like, and hopefully his ability to not incorporate any new questionable celebrations and just be like, we haven't had to hear from Ja all summer. That is the loudest, quiet, the loudest, like the loudest silence possible out of Memphis.
What could he possibly add? Is there like a rocket launcher one that he can
I
throw?
mean, look,
Is
as
there
much
a
as I hated
flamethrower?
the grenade was really good.
The grenade's good. I'm
It
just
was
saying, like
good.
you said, like you're like you hope he doesn't add another celebration. What other weapons are there?
Oh, I mean, look, he's a creative player. Like my man's going to be out there like riding. He'll have like the little the little cart that the team's on, but it'll be a tank or something. Whatever. Well, I'm sure he can get creative with it. Like he's got time, and hopefully, he's
John
maturing.
just becomes a transformer out there. He just turns into into a car,
The
into an
Megatron
Autobot.
cannon. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll say he's Optimus Prime. Maybe
Yeah.
if only he were that durable.
Yeah.
Well, that means there's a certain team in the Southwest Division that's made a considerable jump up the rankings, and that would be the San Antonio Spurs. I believe that we would both have number 2 in this division.
That is
So
correct.
that was the other extension that we didn't talk about, other than Lucas. De'Aaron Fox adds a 4-year, $229 million max extension with the San Antonio Spurs, a deal that has caused me a great deal of confusion in the past couple of days. I looked at that number. I texted you about it. I didn't like it then. I still don't like it now, and I'm a little confused by it. So, Aaron, can you help me make sense of this De'Aaron Fox extension?
A little over like 57.25, I think, is what De'Aaron Fox is going to be getting, which will make him one of the 10 highest paid players in the league going into next season.
Okay, before you answer, can I ask you one question? Has De'Aaron Fox ever been a top 5 point guard in the league at any point in his career? Top 5.
Top 5 point guard in the league. I would say that in his all-star season, he was a top 5 point guard in the league.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's all. That's
Yeah.
I want. He's
I,
also
I,
27 years old.
yeah. I had De'Aaron Fox as, I'd have to check it again, but 2 years ago, I think I had him as like the 19th player in the league. And last year, I mean, I've had him as a top 25 player multiple times in my top
I
100.
think that's fair. But does
Yeah.
does that kind of skill level necessitate this kind of contract?
Well, I mean, you and I kind of did the thought exercise because first and foremost, I don't love the deal from a number standpoint.
No.
We always have to talk about percentage of cap, what it looks like in a couple years. That number is still going to look big in 2 or 3 years based on some of the other guys that we're seeing. If you're the Spurs and you believe that De'Aaron Fox is a guy that he's had 4 years where you can make a reasonable argument that he was an all-star level player. He's probably had a couple years where you could argue him being a fringe all-NBA player. And he's a guy he's won the clutch player of the year and was, I believe, the runner-up one of the other seasons while in Sacramento. Now, I think what San Antonio is telling themselves is in a better situation with a player like Wemby, we may get even a better version of De'Aaron Fox. I don't believe that. And that's the problem for me with where we look at this contract. Now, if the team believes it and the Spurs believe it, fine. But I don't. I actually think, especially when you consider what their roster composition and stuff's going to look like, the best version of De'Aaron Fox is probably going to have to take a little bit of a step back for the sake of this entire team to look better. And that's not a knock on him. You look at his numbers, his percentages for a guy that averages 24 points per game, I think over the last 4 years at like 47, almost 48% from the field. There's not a lot of guys doing that. Now, the 3-point percentage has waxed and waned a little bit. We'll see what happens in San Antonio when he's probably getting some better looks. Also, I mean, the idea of him in a Wemby pick and roll is going to be nasty because De'Aaron Fox,
when he gets true.
Yeah, when De'Aaron Fox turns a corner and gets down the hill, he's a nightmare.
There's also been an interesting point. It's been brought up on multiple podcasts. This isn't like a unique or original point that I'm bringing up, but the Fox Sabonis pick and roll, they're both left-handed.
Yeah, we had talked about that before.
It causes difficulty throwing lobs. Now you get someone like Wembanyama, who's obviously with his length and his size, who's so much bigger than Sabonis, and the fact that he's right-handed, so the pick and roll makes sense with Fox coming off, and then
Wemby going the other way out.
Coming up to his opening
Yeah.
up to his dominant hand.
Yeah.
This all makes a lot more sense. And also, Wemby's just a much better player than Sabonis is.
And you also now have the option for a pick and pop situation where you're drawing away the other big from the rim to give De'Aaron Fox something. Sabonis could pop a little bit, but that defensive player wasn't rushing out to get out on him, whereas Wemby shot 37% or whatever from 36.5%.
Yeah, I think he was about a little above league average last year,
Yeah.
if I remember correctly.
He was 35%.
35, 36.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, he also had that. Didn't he have that like insane hot streak where he was shooting something like 50% from three over a stretch of a certain number of games?
Yeah, but he had also been really bad to
hot.
start the year. Remember, anybody could talk about the first 10 games of the season was how terrible it was that he was taking all the threes that he was taking.
Well, all anybody on NBA on TNT, the inside the crew could talk about.
Yeah.
And that basically we're talking about Shaquille O'Neal. But in 46 games last year, Victor Wembanyama, 24, 11, almost 4 blocks a game, and a steal with 48, 35, 84 shooting splits.
Real quick, too, let's just skip the Spurs rundown as well of what they looked like last season.
Yeah, they were 34 and 48. Obviously, the injuries to Fox and Wembanyama, they were shut down for the rest of the season. Again, these numbers, the offensive rating, the defensive rating, I'm not going to really put a lot of stock into that. I'm not putting a lot of stock into their record. But because they finished 34 and 48, they ended up getting Carter Bryant in the first round. So that's one of their new additions. They also got DeAndre Hunter. I'm sorry, DeAndre Hunter. God, I am
Dylan Harper.
Dylan Harper. I'm losing it tonight. I'm over here. I was so concerned about Iloso's name that I've gotten everybody else's name wrong, which is, it sounds great coming from the host, the person who's trying to run this thing. Great job by me. But yeah, a few additions to the team. Lindy Waters the third. They added Luke Cornett on basically is going to be a 2-year deal. That was the other problem that I kind of had with the Fox contracts. A lot of these teams have been making sure that they have cap space and room for 2 years from now. Big spike in the salary cap that's been going up every year, and they're all just trying to make sure that they're all ready to, land some free agents. I don't like, what is the market for a De'Aaron Fox contract where he's making something like 58 million, let's just say $58 million a year? Who is in the market for a point guard of his skill and caliber? What is the best version of De'Aaron Fox? Is it Trae Young, a 22-11 guy?
Well, I actually think De'Aaron Fox at his best can be better than Trae Young just because he's not the liability defensively. He actually can be a good defensive player in this system. Well, you beat me to it. In this system, no, you're fine. But in this system, because of who he has behind him, what he does with all that gambling is not nearly as much of a problem because the guy then has to try to finish around Victor Wembanyama or Luke Cornett. He's going to have a lot more defensive help. Now, that doesn't mean I want him to be more aggressive than he was in Sacramento, but it does mean that he can get away with being that level of aggressive. Now, the other side of it, I think, as an offensive player, he's far more efficient than Trae. He's not the passer that Trae is, but I like his offensive game as a game that doesn't have to be so focused around him to still be effective. But the other part of it, with what you're saying, is if you're the Spurs and you believe that De'Aaron Fox is a part of your future and you do know that the cap's going to spike, if you have him locked in for this money before Wembanyama gets his extension, which is going to be huge, and then you know that you're looking at the Castle extension, you're trying to get ahead of some of that money and then deciding what you want to do with him probably at the point that those extensions have now taken hold.
Again, but like my problem is like everyone's just like, well, that number is going to not look as big in a couple of years. But De'Aaron Fox's number is, to your point, like as you said earlier, it's still a big number 2 years from now. And it's not like a guy at his age who really hasn't shown that he is one of the top players at his position in the league. What is the market for somebody like that if you're trying to deal him, especially whenever in 2 years from now you owe him another 2 years worth of that contract? So it's another 2 for 112 or 114 or something like that. That's a lot of money.
Yeah, I mean, I still would kind of argue that he's probably proven that he is one of the top players at his position. Now that's arguable.
Players being is he a top 5 point guard in the league right now? I do not believe that he is. I
Well,
would. I mean, even with the Halliburton injury, you've got SGA, Luca, Steph, Jalen Brunson,
yeah.
and
So now the conversation always happens with, is SGA actually a point guard
well,
or is he
he's
a
the
two
point guard
guard?
for that team.
Yeah, and the same could kind of go with Luca. Is Luca the point guard? So there's that positional stuff I'm not even. I'm
I'm
not.
not getting into all
I'm not.
that.
No, I'm not trying to even muck up the conversation. I'm just saying. But okay, so let's say those guys now. So who'd you say? You said SGA, Luca.
Luca, Steph, Jalen Brunson, and I would have said Halliburton if he weren't injured, but obviously
Okay, so
that's
if we say Halliburton's injured, then who else are we now putting in this conversation? Trae Young.
Trae Young, James Harden. I
Uh,
mean, he was
I'll
third.
take.
I'm just saying he was third team All NBA.
Yes, but I'll take
I have to
De'Aaron
put him in
Fox
the
over. I'll take De'Aaron Fox over
I
James
would
Harden. It's
too.
not
I'm
even a
just saying I'm
question.
putting him in the conversation.
Yeah.
I understand. I knew you were gonna.
So Ja, I think you have to put De'Aaron Fox ahead of Ja right now, just for all the reasons we said. Okay. So as of right now, we have
Jamal Murray.
Oh, he's better than Jamal Murray.
Okay, I'm asking the question.
No, I know. Yeah.
Being out there, just wanted to make sure that we're naming everybody, so we're not leaving anybody off the list.
Yeah.
Tyrese Maxey?
Josh Giddey. Tyrese. Maxey's a good one. I still think I like De'Aaron Fox more because he's a better defensive player. Yeah. So, but my point here is, as of right now, we have him at 5th or 6th.
Yeah. I mean, okay, so he may be a top 5 because of injury.
Yeah. But be prepared for the LaMelo Ball comeback. No.
What about the Jalen Suggs emergence?
Yeah, that one I might buy into.
Yeah,
that one I like.
Buy into.
Yeah.
But anyway, go ahead. I just want to say I'm not trying to denigrate Fox.
No, not at all. I actually think the thought exercise is worthwhile, but I'm also making kind of the point is like he's in that milieu of guys, and that's kind of where most of their financial value sort of resting at as well, is somewhere between 45 and 55, right? They paid a little bit more than I would have for him. I'm playing devil's advocate as much as anything. This would have looked so much better to me, and we get caught up in this a lot, and I know I don't need to, but if this was 5 or 4 at 45 or 47 and a half, I'd feel a lot better about it.
I would be singing their praises if it were that case. If they signed the guy for 4 for 180, that's a completely different conversation that we're having, where I'm like, hey, nice value. They got him for a couple of years, and also that's super tradable.
Yeah.
Because he's still, but also we've never seen De'Aaron Fox on a team this good or a team with this much potential. Yeah. Even that team that finished 3rd in the West in Sacramento, I think that was kind of a lightning in the bottle year for them.
Yes, but he was the best player on that team. That is very important in this conversation. Yeah.
Awesome.
I mean, if he doesn't hurt his thumb in that playoff series, they beat the Warriors in the first round.
Could have gone the other way. Absolutely. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I guess I'm just I'm gonna stay on the side of being skeptical until I see it for a full season and I see the full complement of what he can provide with a player of the caliber of Victor Wembanyama. And obviously his injury was, detrimental to the team last year. They ended up they only played 6 games together last year.
Yeah.
Man, they never really got a chance.
My biggest issue with this, and I know it's putting the cart before the horse, it's just a really heavy investment when you use the 2nd pick on a guy in Dylan Harper, who I don't love as a 2 guard. I want Dylan Harper having the ball in his hands more often. And if this was a 3+1, it would make a lot more sense to me in terms of the developmental arc of Dylan Harper. But with a 4-year investment, separate of being able to possibly trade Fox, and for all the reasons you just said about how difficult it may be to trade him because of the contract value and what we're seeing with trading guys at that high of a number with the second apron and everything else, you mean that these guys have to be paired up for 4 years of Dylan Harper's development? I don't like that. And I especially don't like it because Stephen Castle also is kind of a 1/2. Now, I think they're going to play Castle more at the 2 this coming year, but he played a lot of both. So now you really have Castle and Harper as your 2 biggest developmental youngsters as guys who are going to play on the ball less because of the investment that you put in De'Aaron Fox. That's my biggest issue with it.
Yeah, well, and also you brought up a really good point. You brought up we've seen guys who would normally get contracts in the $20 to $25 million a year range. Kuminga, Cam Thomas, Josh Giddey. They're not getting paid. They're being offered qualifying offers or they're being negotiated hard against. A lot of these teams are cash strapped. So they don't want to spend all this money. And there's only a couple of teams that are willing to be facilitators. And then when you actually look at the circumstances involving the trade around Fox in the first place, how many teams were on his list that he wanted to be traded to? One. It was San Antonio. He only had
Yeah.
one team that he was interested in going to. That right there is leverage in a negotiating position. And then when you look around the league, you're like, look, man, we're gonna have to trade your contract at a certain point, and guess who is gonna have cap space? The Nets, the Wizards, maybe the Hornets, teams that you probably don't want to go to. So
And had they strung this out and told him to go get that money somewhere, to your point, who's giving him that money? The
exactly,
Nets, maybe.
who are they negotiating against to give him that money?
Are the Raptors still looking to sign somebody?
I mean,
The Raptors
Phoenix
signed him for
is just-
65 million a year.
desperate to pair Fox and Booker in the backcourt
Yeah.
because Ishbia is the only guy who's dumb enough to put those two together and just watch that defense crumble.
Yeah.
But anyway, there's a lot to like about the Spurs team, though. We're shitting on the air. I mean, I'm shitting.
We're not, and I don't even think we're shitting on him. I think it's totally fair to have this conversation, and at the same time, I would be completely unsurprised if De'Aaron Fox is a fringe all-star player and puts up something like 22-8. Like that wouldn't shock me.
I very much liked De'Aaron Fox trade last year. I just didn't like the extension. I guess that's all I was really trying to get at. I've also liked every other move that the Spurs have made in this offseason. They were able to retain all. They barely. Here's the thing. The last thing about Fox that I'll say is the cost to get him was minimal. They didn't give up anything of extreme value to get him on the team.
They got off a negative contract in Zach Collins that didn't have to attach an asset, which I'm not going to explain why that's frustrating because I already have before. But it was actually for the level of player that he was considered around the league, what they had to do to make that deal is absurd.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. And so even if say they played hardball with Fox and he's like, I'll walk. They're like, okay. We still got Castle, we still have Harper, and we didn't give up that much to get you in the first place. So we'll write out this contract for this next season, and you're free to test the free agent market all you want. But again, we were the only team you wanted to go to. There's not a robust market out there, even though he's a very skilled player. And you wanted to be here. So they had leverage, I guess is what I mean. Yeah. And like I said, I love the Olynyk pickup. Kornet deal is huge. I think Kornet is a really good player. Also, the way they structured that contract is brilliant. Yeah. It's 4 for 41, but it's really only a 2-year deal because the other 2 years are not really guaranteed. So that's crazy. They still kept Vassell. They have Champagnie. They still have Harrison Barnes. They have
Are we sure keeping Devin Vassell is a positive thing?
I don't know what Devin Vassell is.
Okay, because I was bigger on Devin Vassell before last year, and look, obviously they gave him a big extension. He's their second highest paid player on the team.
Yeah,
his inability
$27 million next year.
Yeah, and his inability to play make really concerned me. I thought that was going to be more of his game. And if he's just a spot up shooter, which maybe
that's a lot.
He went from a guy that I thought maybe had some Chris Middleton into his game to a guy who's more like Harrison Barnes, but with less size in his game. That worries me.
I was going to ask, would you rather have Devin Vassell or Emmanuel Quickley right now?
Oh, that's not even a question. It's Devin Vassell. I am so far out on Emmanuel Quickley, and I'm sorry, no offense to IQ, but it's just his at that number for what his game is. It's crazy.
Well, I'm saying that's kind of what the conversation though that we're having is what Devin Vassell is at this number.
Yeah,
is now a problem.
Yes,
it's the same conversation we basically had around Fox. It's like at this number, what are you? Yeah. Because now we're paying you like a top guy.
And I think he's harder to move.
A high-end starter.
Yeah, I don't know what team out there, because I think this is the second year of a 5-year deal, if I remember correctly. Mm-hmm. That's a difficult contract to unload unless he starts to pop a little bit more than we saw last year.
Yeah, but also $27 million is more palatable for some teams to take on, especially if you can work a 3-teamer in there.
Yes, but do you want Devin Vassell when you still are on the hook for $108 million and he's going to be $118 million and he's averaging 16 points per game?
Yeah, I get it. I get it. Yeah. I'm just saying it's the numbers that matter.
Yeah, absolutely.
The second you get these extensions, the second these kick in, that's whenever people start to have these expectations of you. And I just want to see it. But obviously we're both high on the Spurs. We have them finishing second in a very deep division.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
A lot of depth, a lot of young. And the other thing about them is they maintain so much flexibility that they're still in the Giannis conversation.
Absolutely. That's still off the table, and they have the pieces to do it.
Yeah. I mean,
Why did they add more shooting?
Is De'Aaron Fox attractive to the Bucks? Because you get a star under 4 years of team team control.
I mean, he's attractive if you had Giannis Antetokounmpo.
Yeah.
That's what you're giving up to get him. Then it's not. It's a little bit less attractive.
It's fair enough.
Yeah, I'm not saying he might be less attractive for him.
Yeah,
but you never know. Well, it depends on what else comes back with it. I mean, I'd imagine that Vassell, Fox, and then some picks, a lot of picks, are going to have to be involved in all of that. But
if it was something
Johnson like, or something,
Vassell, Fox, Johnson, and like 2 first-rounders for Giannis.
I think that's
you could talk yourself into that.
That's a fair return, and at least again, because the Bucks don't own their picks, which we've talked about before, that's a team that can also compete because there's going to be a lot of shots, a lot of opportunities for them to get shots up, and they have to be good or they have to be better because they can't be bad. Otherwise, they swap their picks. So
that you're kind of making the same point about how those Spurs picks don't have a lot of value because the next 10 years they're probably going to be a top 8 seed.
Those better be some first down the damn road.
Yeah. Can I interest you in a 2038?
Yeah, exactly. How far down the road can we kick that can?
Yeah.
That's what we need from you. I have the Spurs at 46 and 36 next year.
I've got them at 48 and 34, so an exact switch of what their record was. I wouldn't be surprised if this team competes for 50 wins.
I can see it. I could absolutely see it.
My hyperbolic prediction: Wemby's going to finish second in the MVP voting this year. He's winning Defensive Player of the Year. I don't even think that's a question. He's got to be the odds-on favorite by like a huge margin, considering that he was good for 4.7 stocks last season, which is absurd. But I think he's going to finish if he plays 65 or more games, he's going to finish second in the MVP voting. And the only reason he won't win the MVP is because there's always a latency with the voters where we kind of give the guy his first one like a year later than he actually deserved it. So it's going to be like
the guy that's in line for one that's probably in for a great season is Luka Doncic.
Luka, that's my pick.
Yep. So that's who. By the way, he's got some really good. I think the odds are pretty good. Luka's MVP odds. If you wanted to put a bet down for that,
that's really okay. I might have to do that tomorrow.
The last time I checked, I thought that was a really good value for Luka MVP. I was like, it looks. I mean, it's only the only thing I think that could ever hold him back is if the Lakers aren't very good, or if LeBron ends up going somewhere and they move on from him, and then it's
But I could see them being like the 6th seed and him going for 33, 10, and 9, and he gets the MVP.
That could absolutely be the possibilities. I mean, people love to vote for the Lakers, so that would not surprise me whatsoever.
And it's always a narrative-based award, and they've already primed the narrative with everything we're seeing to precede all this, right? Yeah.
There you go. Okay, so it means we have one last thing to talk about, and that is the new look Houston Rockets.
Yeah.
Who finished in the number 2 seed last year and then improved in almost every way that I could think of, except for one, which we will obviously get to. Last year, they were 52 and 30. They had an offensive rating that was 12th in the league, but a defensive rating that was 5th. Very tough defensive team that's only gotten tougher. They re-signed Steven Adams. They added Dorian Finney-Smith. They added Josh Okogie. They added a couple of rookies and
Clint Capella, which I messed up on the sheet there.
Oh, no, you're fine. Yeah, they added Clint Capella. And then they obviously the biggest addition of all, Kevin Durant.
Yeah.
Who is and then out the door goes Jalen Green. Key departure for them. He was their only 20-point per game scorer last year. Extremely inefficient, but they had 7 players who averaged double figures. But bringing in maybe one of the greatest scorers of all time seems like a pretty good idea for a team that struggled offensively.
Yes, particularly for a team that struggled to generate offense in really pivotal moments. Yeah. Now, it's crazy because obviously you're looking at this sheet. They shot 38.1% from field in the clutch, last season, which was tied for dead last in the league with the Sixers, and yet somehow still tied for the most clutch wins during the regular season. And they did not play the most clutch games. They played the third or
Yeah.
fourth most. That's
And,
crazy.
well, you're telling me that Fred Van Vliet moonballs over 6 defenders somehow?
Yeah.
Those weren't the best offense in the clutch? That's crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah.
So this is my first point. I don't want to feel like I'm being super negative, but it's something that I looked at, and I wanted to bring this up to you. I don't know if you knew this or not. So this is my stat that I wondered if you had. The Rockets last year were dead last in assist percentage and assist ratio, and they were 24th in assist to turnover ratio. That's an area that they didn't improve. I don't believe they didn't get like Fred VanVleet is a very serviceable, very good point guard. I like Fred a lot. I don't think that he's like the kind of point guard that is a great creator for other people. If you look out the rest of the starting five, it's VanVleet, Thompson, Durant, Jabari, Şengün. Şengün's probably the best passer on the team. VanVleet, by default, by being the point guard, is probably the second. After that,
what's crazy about that number is for much of the season, Fred VanVleet was having an all-time year in terms of assist to turnover. So separate of him, that means they were terrible there. Now,
well, I mean, replacing Jalen Green's offense with Kevin Durant's obviously good, and Kevin Durant's a much better passer.
Yes, I was going to say, and the decision making, especially because Jalen Green can be a good passer when he wants to be, but Jalen Green can be a lot of things when he wants to be, and most of the time he doesn't want to be those things.
Doesn't want to be.
It's concerning for me, but at the same time, they have Steven Adams is a smart passer. Alperen Şengün is a very smart passer. Fred VanVleet is a notch above serviceable, particularly now when he's going to have more space and isn't going to be catching more live grenades than my best buddy in like college. There's just a lot of issues that I think Kevin Durant helped solve just in terms of how they even play stylistically, because spacing is going to be so much better, right? So where Şengün is able to operate from the elbow and the block, people aren't going to be able to dig in as much because you're going to be fearful of KD much more than you are Jalen Green, even though Jalen Green, when he wanted to, was a very activated cutter. But now you have guys like Thompson, who is going to be a more self-actualized version and had been so good in the dunker spot. There's just so many elements to how I think they're going to play positional basketball that's going to be better situated and better figured out. I expect Jabari to be nailing threes from the corner because that's my guy. And I just think he's going to
get more open shots. For him, by the way.
Yes, nice extension for Jabari. That is a $30 million a year deal I'm okay with, but I'm still. But all jokes aside, I think that they're just. Kevin Durant, I don't want to put too much stock into a single player, but he really does have the ability for how they function offensively to help smooth out a lot of the rough edges for them. On top of the fact that the last month of the season, Amen Thompson was a completely different player. He was so much more aggressive.
That was going to be my question to you.
Yeah.
Do you believe that Amen Thompson, like, that's who they're banking on to basically be their facilitator and emerge as like their Swiss Army knife, do everything? Because he can do everything but shoot.
Yeah, I think what it'll be is more of that Swiss Army knife role. I don't think they're going to put him into the capacity of being a full-on facilitator.
Okay. I was curious.
Yeah. I believe that whatever we saw at the end of the year was probably a little bit more than I would expect for the entire season. But allowing him to get into space and operate and kick out and do all those other things that he can do with the players that they're going to have around him is going to be a more pivotal part of their offense. If I'm Ime Udoka, though, I also don't want to marginalize how good he is as a cutter, how good he is in the dunker spot. So taking the ball out of his hands at certain times and doing stuff like pick and roll with KD and Şengün and letting Şengün get downhill. And like, think about this. You're running a high pick and roll. You have KD coming off. Şengün's rolling down the middle, and then Thompson's the backside guy. That's a nightmare for a defense to have to deal with.
To guard.
Yeah. And I mean, it's all like Şengün is a perfect passer in that intermediate space. Thompson's the perfect backside cutter. And Kevin Durant is a nightmare if he gets to the nail. Like, there's just all these things that they're going to be able to do. I mean, I put down the note here. The lineup versatility for them is exciting. it's crazy to think about where you're going to use Dorian Finney-Smith. If Reed Shepherd takes a step up, what he can be for them. They just have
Yeah,
so many different looks. Jabari at the
he
five if
was
they want to go
great at
small
summer
ball
league, by the
five.
way.
Yeah, so you're talking about Reed.
Yeah, Reed Shepherd
Yeah,
was great in
yeah,
summer league. I mean,
yeah. I
he
mean, they're
showed a
expecting stuff
lot.
from him. Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, they do have expectations. I mean, he got buried a little bit last year. Obviously, they expect him to be a part of their rotation going forward. I think he got buried because he didn't do a lot of the things that Udoka expects from
yeah.
his players when they're out there playing, especially defensively. Um, but yeah, my only so I have another question just about like so they're really good with defense with rebounding. They're the best offensive rebounding team in the league last year. I think they've only gotten better at that by adding Capella, Adams, Şengün, Durant, Smith. That's a huge jumbo team. They were 18th in pace last year. They've gotten older. Jalen Green was their most athletic player that they had. He was the youngest. He could
Well,
get up
Amen
in transition.
Thompson's the most athletic, but
Well,
Jalen
fair
Green
enough,
got
fair
out
enough,
and
fair enough.
flew plenty. Yeah, yeah.
But he's still one of the most athletic players in the league.
Yes,
Still, a
absolutely. Yeah,
freak athlete.
yeah,
And he was the only one of the people that would push pace.
yeah.
So now you got this team that, and Durant at this age and at this point of his career, bit of more of a ball stopper. Needs it in his spots where he wants to get it, and it goes a little one on one. Sometimes it can be. He's malleable in ways that most superstar players are not. He can figure out how to play off of almost, excuse me, after almost anybody. But yeah, like a team like Oklahoma City is going to be their main challenger in the West. Them in Denver, those teams they're a lot more athletic. They're a lot more get out and run. They can get out and run a little bit more than this Rocket team probably can. Is that going to be an issue for them going forward as far as just like, I mean, this wouldn't be a problem in the playoffs, but I am talking about the regular season.
So the thing is, yes, I do think it's a fair question in terms of their athleticism, but also
Well, just stylistically too.
yeah, yeah, but the counter to that is if they have to go like uber athlete or anything like that, you go Tari Eason, Amen Thompson, Dorian Finney-Smith, Jabari Smith Jr., and then whoever you want at the guard. You actually still have a lot of versatile athletes that cover a lot of space. They're not. Look, the
that would be a nightmare defensively. Good Lord.
Yeah, and the Thunder are in a league of their own, so it's tough to compare anybody to what they can do athletically just because of how many wings that they have. But the Rockets have a really good balance of guys that they can put in different spots who can activate athleticism, but also guys that they can have in a half court setting that really help. Like, if this is a team that wants to slow it down and get into an ugly game, kind of like what they did with the Warriors, they're perfectly set up for that. If they need to get up and down a little bit more, that's when Amen Thompson's now the guy that you're hitching your wagon to, right? Like, this is all right. The leash is off, go run free, and you let those guys get out there and do that. They have enough of all those pieces that I think they can just play a lot of different styles. Now, I don't know that Ime Udoka is that level of creative coach from an offensive standpoint, and that'll be interesting to see. I think he likes to do what he likes to do, but there is so much to work with here. And we did see, look, the double big lineup.
Yeah.
What they did,
triple big.
Yeah, yeah. And what they did with Adams and Şengün made the rest of the league adjust. Like, I think part of the reason so many people went to add a second big player was they saw what the hell those guys did in the last 2 months of the season. We're like, oh, we need to get ahead of this.
So this is just something that I saw that I just thought was incredible. So they were number one in offensive rebounding rate, or offensive rebounding percentage. That's not surprising. They were ninth in defensive rebounding percentage. They were still number one in overall rebound percentage.
Yeah,
that's
just because
they
how
were
many
offensively.
Yeah.
They got so many more rebounds than everybody else on the offensive glass that they still led the league in rebound percentage despite being ninth in defensive rebounds. That's nuts.
Well, and especially when you consider the volume of offensive rebounds versus defensive rebounds, that's really crazy because you had that much of a lead, even though normally you're going to have a quarter as many offensive rebounds as you will defensive.
Well, and they're also probably hoping that they have less offensive rebounding opportunities, that they aren't shooting 39% from the floor. So
I think they'd be perfectly content if they only had like 3 Fred VanVleet games where he missed 10 threes.
Yeah, the rotations I think are going to be fascinating. Like you said, they still have some amazing defensive players coming off the bench that they can use in a lot of different ways with Tari Eason and their Dorian Finney-Smith. They're very versatile in that way. Cam Whitmore is obviously gone on to, well, I wouldn't say greener pastures, but he's on to a different pasture. But they still got a lot of freak athletes Jay Sean Tate is another
Yeah.
guy that can just, play you spot minutes and play just hard-nosed defense. He's a very much a Udoka kind of guy. Um, yeah, this team is. I don't know. This is probably my medium hot take. I think that the Rockets win the most games in the West next year.
Wow. You have them over
Yeah,
the Thunder.
I have them over the. I think the Thunder. You get that kind of championship kind of hangover. I
Yeah.
don't know if this Thunder team is going to suffer it as badly as some. Like I don't think they're going to do what the Celtics did, where they kind of just like we don't care about the regular season. They're
Yeah.
not that way. But I
Yeah.
think that like this Rockets team, considering that they finished with 52 wins last year, and they've improved in so many ways, I think that they're going to be a team. I have them winning. I don't think anyone's winning 68 games like the Thunder did last year. I
Yeah.
don't think that's happening again. I think that was an outlier. And I have this Rockets team winning 61 games.
Ooh. That's spicy. I like it.
That might be, is that medium spicy or is that spicy
Well,
spicy?
I think 60 games in the West for anybody is tough. I mean,
I was
right?
around like the 58 to 60 range, and this is
Yeah.
me going on the high side because I think I undervalued maybe San Antonio. Maybe I don't know. Maybe I undervalued some of these, but I'm gonna stick with it. 60 and 22. That's my guess. That
I
this
was I was probably a little bit more glowing on the Rockets offense than I expected to be initially. I think there's going to be some figuring out stuff. And again, that goes back to I want to see what Udoka's ability to adjust what he does. Now, look, he's already played with a phenomenal offensive talent in Jason Tatum and been perfectly fine with how he adapted. Durant's a little different, but I think Durant's versatility. I have them 56 and 26 because I think there's just going to be
okay.
some figuring it out, but I they're going to be the second best team in the West to me, and I think the Thunder and the Rockets are
I think
head
they're going to
and
be
shoulders
neck
above
and
anybody.
neck.
Yeah, I wouldn't be
I think
surprised.
if
It's
the
like,
Thunder win like 58 games in the same scenario, they're
yeah,
58-24. But I think Houston's gonna like they want that number one seed so badly, and maybe the Thunder are like, we don't need to push it to get that number one seed. We just need to get in.
yeah, I think
We
that's
just need
all
to get
fair.
in. Yeah, and that's where my head went. And I think that the Thunder. I mean, yeah, they could very easily win a lot of games again next season. I mean, it's basically the same core, it's basically the same team with a
Yeah,
couple of key additions. But yeah, it's very hard. That would be their third year in a row being number one in the West. That just really doesn't happen that much anymore. And yeah, as much as they had some injury luck 2 years ago when they had 57 wins, and then they had some kind of bad luck last year, Hartenstein, Chet, Caruso, a lot of the Jalen Williams injury toward the end of the year. That can happen again. That you
yeah,
never really know with some of these things. So this is me trying to be as little of a homer as I can possibly be and look at this
yeah.
objectively.
I
And
respect it.
oh yeah, 60 wins is probably high. You're probably
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
But
But
58,
I like it. Hey, that's what we're here for. Like, we're not trying to play this safe.
yeah.
This is the closest you're getting to hot takes on no gimmies. Like,
Yeah, well, say South. I think it's entirely possible that if a lot of things break right in the top 10 in the playoffs next year, four teams from this Southwest division could be in the mix.
you could
That's
reasonably argue that four teams are going to win more than 45 games in this division. Very
Yeah,
easily. Yeah.
I mean, last year they had three. They had
Yeah.
Dallas at 10, they had Memphis at 7, and Houston at 2. San
Yeah.
Antonio goes up the way we think they do, and that's the four team that you're adding from the same division. I mean, that's going to be a bloodbath in the Southwest. So I'm
Yeah.
excited for it. That's going to be a really fun division. That's one to keep your eye on because that's going to be some battle-tested teams.
Yeah.
Uh,
Absolutely.
this might be my scorching hot take.
Okay.
Kevin Durant passes Michael Jordan next season for career points. He
Well,
needs
how far off is he?
he needs 1,721, and if he plays 70 games and averages 25 points, I believe that's about 1,750.
Wow, that's
It's
70.
right there. 70 games for Durant is a
Ooh,
big ask. I
make
understand.
sure you write that down because we have to
I'm
be
gonna,
tracking that because that's
yeah,
going to be
about to say
real
that's a
close.
tough
That,
one,
that
but
yeah,
that's
but
my
that's a fun one. We
scorching
have to
hot.
watch that. We should do monthly check-ins for where he is on that because that is totally in play.
Yeah, it's in play, and that's the thing. Like that's what I mean by scorching hot. You're expecting Kevin Durant to stay healthy for 70 games, and I mean he's about as consistent of a superstar as we've ever had.
Yeah,
If the guy's healthy, he's averaging 25.
yeah.
So he's proven that year in year out. Now you're right, there could be some bumps in the road, some adjustment period there, but if he gets hot and he's able to stay healthy, 1,721 points is it's completely doable. But that's my scorcher.
Yeah, I mean that guy could figure out how to score in any situation, so he'll
I
he'll
mean,
be good.
he solved so many of their problems just on
Yeah.
his own, and then they built an even better team around him. Going from Phoenix to Houston has got to feel like finding an oasis in the desert for him.
This dude is this is his Shawshank moment. He has crawled through the proverbial shit and now he gets to
Yeah,
wash himself out in the baptismal waters of Houston.
and of course, it has to be with a team that is diametrically opposed to the Oklahoma City Thunder because why else would Kevin
Yeah.
Durant do anything else other than do something in diametric opposite of what the Thunder are trying to do? This motherfucker. Anyway, uh, anything else that we need to talk about the Southwest Division?
No, I think we covered it thoroughly. It was a fun division to talk about because it's going to be a really fun division to follow. Like, I mean, even the mess that's happening down in New Orleans, I'll be monitoring because it's cathartic isn't fair, but sometimes watching somebody bungle who you're already kind of indifferent to can make you feel a little better about yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I could use a little cheering up because Aaron, I asked for 5 minutes at the end of this show because
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I wanted to talk about something. Is there anything you want to say before I start? Because there's going to be very little stopping me.
No, no, no. It's your time to cook, my friend.
I'm ready to cook, man. And this might be where a lot of our basketball listening podcasters and listeners turn this podcast off because I'm going to talk about baseball. My dad is from New York. He was born there and he was raised there for a couple of years before he ended up moving to Oklahoma. And he was a Yankees fan. He raised me and my brother to be Yankees fans. I hate this fucking team, Aaron. I hate this fucking team so much. Last night they blew yet another game against the Texas Rangers in the ninth inning, in the bottom of the ninth. Devin Williams, who is somehow still the starter on this team after he has given up 24 earned runs in only 45 appearances. He gave up 24 earned runs in 145 appearances when he was with Milwaukee, but it only took him 100 less games to give up the same. And he gives up a game-tying home run to a guy who's batting 132. They tie the game. They lose in extra innings. This Aaron Judge is out. One of the guys they traded for at the trade deadline to try and bolster their shitty bullpen, they've already optioned to AAA. They sent him down to Scranton because they hate him so much. He's blown 2 games in the 2 games that he was there with the franchise. They bring in an outfielder, Slater, who immediately pulls his hamstring. He's on the IL. They bring in Caballero. He's in right field, makes a crippling error that cost them the game against the Marlins the other night. The fucking Marlins. And now this team, they just cannot win a simple baseball game. They have a shortstop who was a gold glover last year, who now leads the league in errors. So he used to play good defense and now he forgot how. He's definitely got the yips. I saw him field a ground ball, look at first base, tap it 3 times, and then throw it in the dirt. He is terrified to throw the ball to first base from shortstop. He can't do it anymore. He's scared. And the team can't fucking hit. And so this is just like, I literally put it on Threads last night. I was like, put everyone who is an Aaron Judge on this team and fire them into the fucking sun. I am so sick of being told that they're contenders when they've done nothing to say that they are contenders. They're not. There's not a goddamn thing about this team that makes me think that they're worth a shit. But everyone they're like, well, the Yankees are going to win the world. They'll just need to get in there. They were 7 games up on this division back in May. They are now 5.5 games back. They are so bad. They're so mediocre. And I cannot. And Boone has been with the team for 8 years, one World Series appearance, and it was last year, and he got bounced so fucking hard that everyone was calling a manager who made the World Series that he should be fired. But no, they brought him back for an 8th year where he's won 0 World Series. They bring in Brian Cashman, Cashman he's never going to get fired because he's Hal Steinbrenner's boy. So he's been there for 25 years. He's there forever. And they're going to pretend to contend without ever really spending. They're going to waste the rest of Judge's career. They've pretty much wasted Garrett Cole's prime. They brought in Max Fried. They brought in Cody Bellinger. Those guys have been great. But everybody else is shit. They're shit. And they keep telling me they're good. They keep trying to hand me this pile of garbage and telling me it's treasure. And I'm tired of it. And I texted my dad, my poor dad. And I was just like, I can't do it with this team anymore. I'm done with them for the season. They are a joke. And being a Yankees fan sucks. We haven't been in the World Series. We haven't won a World Series since 2009. We were in one last year, and we weren't even really fucking in it.
I mean, until Game 5.
I will never forget the Judge error, the drop ball that led to the Freddie Freeman just dismantling of the. Oh my God! I mean, it's like a through line of shittiness that you can just follow it bead to bead, dot to dot, and you're just like, why does everyone keep telling me this team is good? They're not. They're just fucking not. And I don't know. I can't do it with these guys, man.
Well, that was some real cooking right there.
That was cooking. Woo! I needed to get that off my chest. I've been thinking about it all day.
Yeah. Well, you look lighter.
I couldn't even watch the game last. It was 5-4 in the ninth, and I saw it. I like Googled it just to be like, what's the score? Right? It's 5-4 in the ninth. I was like, they're gonna fucking blow this, aren't they? I was like, they need insurance runs. They need to get at least 7-4. But even that lead's not safe because Devin Williams will find a way to blow it, and he's somehow still the closer.
Yeah.
He's given them every reason. He's blown so many saves this year, and he's still somehow got the job.
Yeah.
I don't understand it. And Boone is he's just wanted some rah-rah. It's right in front of us. Shut the fuck up, man. Like, call people out for their bad defense. Call them out for their bad base running. Jazz Chisholm got picked off on first base on a pop fly to second.
Yeah, it's not great.
I saw it. He's the fastest guy on the team. I mean, they make an error they make little league errors every game, and nothing's being done. Nobody gets called out. Nobody gets benched. Nobody gets pulled. It's just, we got to figure it out. That's what I hear. It's right there in front of us. We got to figure it out. That's fucking, I know.
Well, that was a 3-course meal prepared for you by Evan Cook.
I'm okay.
Yeah.
Aaron did remind me earlier that I've been pretty spoiled with the Liberty won their championship, the Thunder won their championship. I shouldn't complain, but this is the oldest fandom that I know. I mean, ever since I was a kid, like the second I was able to walk, I was wearing a Yankees hat. I mean, that I can remember. I was, trying to be, and I grew up during the heyday of the Jeter, the, Bernie Williams, the Mariano Rivera, Andy Pettit, Yankees, David Cone, David Wells, all those guys, Paul O'Neill, Tino Martinez. I mean, that was how I grew up, from like that championship run in the 90s into the early 2000s. And, you just kind of expect that they're going to be at least competitive.
I mean, for the rest of us, nobody really feels bad for Yankee fans, but I can also understand when, as somebody who went on a rant about the Aces after they recently won titles, you come to expect one level of competition and you get served another, and it's maddening when it doesn't feel like there's any accountability for it. So,
well, we've been gifted this generational superstar in Aaron Judge that he kind of had a Steph Curry like rise in popularity and like he's this kind of outlier. You don't really like, this guy's 6'6" and huge. God, he looks like a linebacker out there. And
he looks like a Marvel character.
Yeah, he has these injuries, and he never really fully starts like playing until he's 25, 26.
Yeah.
And now he's become one of the greatest generational players that we've ever. He's maybe one of the greatest right-handed hitters of all time. This is a sport that has a 150-year history. The same way that Steph has become the greatest shooter. You're just like, you marvel at what this guy can do. And like, you're amazed at the longevity in which he's able to do it. And then, but imagine if it was Steph, but he was on the Hornets this entire time. It's like he keeps dragging them to records they don't deserve.
Yeah.
And he's great and everyone loves him. But like, he's actually like, he's the facade over, like, there's a bunch of junk that don't look over here.
Yeah. Just
Yeah,
pay attention to this.
Yeah, pay like look at Aaron.
Yeah.
And then they never put anything around him. And they tried with Soto and they get outbid by the fucking Mets. I guarantee you that never happens in the 90s if old Steinbrenner.
There was conversation that the Mets were not going to be outdone even if it got to $1 billion. So there is that. But yeah, the Soto loss is obviously a pretty major one and something you never see happen to the Yankees in years past.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, I don't know. I just wanted to bitch about it, and this was as good a venue as any. My dad is probably
this is the time and space. Yeah,
my dad is probably tired of me texting him, telling him how much I hate this. Because my dad's as loyal as they come. He likes this Yankees team even when they stink. He's still holding out hope, that we got another 45 games left. What if they can go like, 30-15 down the stretch? They still win 90 games. That's pretty good. There's no way this team's doing that. Not until and Judge is injured, unless he.
Well, he was back. He was hitting BP today.
Yeah,
so I did see that. Yeah.
Yeah, but in that role, he would maybe only be a DH. He's still not in right field because he's got an elbow problem, and if you try and put him out there, could end up being Tommy John surgery, which would just be the death knell for him as an everyday fielder, and you just can't have that for a guy who's 33.
Yeah.
So. Sorry for everybody who had to listen to me yell about baseball. This is not that kind of podcast, but now it is.
Hey, we leave an opportunity to rant about anything and everything. We speak primarily about basketball, but all things are in play.
I reserve the right to come back here in a month and take every single bit of this back. Generational run.
You guys go on some crazy run. Everyone's going to hate you for this.
But at least you got to listen to me. That was completely unscripted, completely unprompted. I don't know how long I just yelled, but it
wasn't that unprompted because that had been simmering for a while. You just let the top off of it.
Yeah. Well, like I said, I've been texting my dad about it because he's the only other Yankees fan that I have in my life that, my dad, my uncle, my brother doesn't care nearly as much as we all do. My cousin Taylor, He's pretty much, he loves Cleveland. He adopted he even adopted the Browns when they were 1-32. He was there during that run, and he still became a fan of the Browns. That man's a masochist.
Yeah, choosing to be a fan of the Browns is about as bad as it gets.
Yep.
That's like deciding to marry J-Lo for love.
Hey, her love don't cost a thing.
Yeah.
Except a prenup and probably a lot of money. But
emotional distress, I'm imagining, is a pretty high demand there as well. Yeah.
I was gonna say you had an amazing podcast with the one and only Howard Beck.
Yes,
I heard in niche nerdy podcasting circles. What up, Beck is one of the most popular phrases in that small circle. So
I of course had to fight the urge to use that, but since one, that is Zach Lowe's thing, and two, I was just fortunate to be in the conversation yesterday on the Unrestricted Area, which is one of Basketball Intelligence other podcasts. That's our one that's more of kind of interview based format. We interviewed Howard Beck about contender construction in the modern kind of parody era of NBA, Adam Silver's kind of forced parody. It was a good conversation. It's a much shorter pod. It was only 40 minutes. It was actually about 36 minutes. He was great. He was very gracious. I appreciate his time and him coming on with myself and my co-host Ray LeBove. He was able to correct me on a few things, a couple not full-on theories I had, but stuff I wanted to float around that he swatted down pretty quickly, which I totally appreciated from him. It was a good conversation. He was an awesome guy to talk to. I hope in the future that we get another opportunity. Maybe we get a big enough platform at some point to see if we can bring him on here, or maybe there's some level of coercion I can work. But he was a great guy. I'll link to it in the show notes for this as well. Anybody interested?
Howard Beck, friend of the show.
Friend of the show, friend of the pod.
Make sure that we keep putting those things out there.
Eventually, that is official.
But yeah,
Hey, he follows me on Blue Sky now. That's something.
I'm a huge fan of Howard Beck. I love his analysis. I love him and Zach together.
Yeah.
He genuinely sounds like he loves basketball, which is my favorite. Like I'm not going to name names, but there's some of these national media guys that like when they talk about the game, they talk about it with the kind of disdain
Yeah.
that like, it's like they just found something on the bottom of their shoe.
Yeah.
And I'm
It's like
like,
trying to hype up a younger sibling that they've hated for 20 years.
yeah,
Like,
they're
oh,
like, yeah, he's yeah, you know, they don't seem to love the game the way that,
yeah.
you know.
Couldn't say it sharing a bedroom with him, but at least he's finally getting married to this one.
Yeah. But yeah, there's some guys that are not friends of the show that I won't mention, but that was very cool, man. I actually plugged that on Threads for you because I thought it was awesome.
I
So
appreciate you. Thank you.
yeah, that's fantastic. You can catch that and this show on the Basketball Intelligence Network, which you all should be subscribed to. Check it out. You get an email in your inbox, and it's a great collection of all the stuff about all the goings on in the NBA, even during the off season. It's very cool. I'm subscribed. Aaron's subscribed. We're on it. You should be on it. Please like, subscribe, and share this podcast. Is there anything else that you'd like to plug before we get out of here?
For anybody watching the video, I apologize. The air quality in Vegas is terrible. And I like, as we've been going, my sinuses have been getting worse and worse. So I'm sorry for anybody watching it. Appreciate you sticking with me.
I've had a fly flying around this room the entire
We're
time. I've
both
been
a
trying
mess.
not to let it distract me, but if you see my eyes darting around, that's what it was about.
Yeah.
Thank you all, as always, for tuning in. We love you guys. We appreciate all the support. We appreciate you listening and giving us an opportunity to do this. And we'll end this podcast the same way that we always do. Adios.
All right. Well,
We always
2 hours.
2 hours.
Let's,
I was just about to say that during the sign off. I was like 37 minutes. Don't know.
yeah. Yeah.
We talk about everything, but
Yeah.
2 hours.
It's a pleasure. That's what
That's
chapters are
as
for.
always, man.
Yeah.
I love doing this.
Me too.
Um, hmm.
Next
Do
Tuesday
we
works
do
for me if it works
Atlantic
for you.
of it? I guess it's the Atlantic is the next one, right?
Yeah,
Or
sure.
uh, is that what is what is Indiana's called again? What is their
The,
division with the Bucks and the Bulls? I can't remember what their
the northeast.
is it Northeast?
I
Because
think it's northeast.
Toronto, Milwaukee.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
northeast.
the Atlantic is the Knicks, the Sixers, all those teams,
Yeah, yeah,
the the Raptors and the Nets.
sure. Yeah,
I think that's all correct.
yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I think the Atlantic Division would be great. I mean, we get a lot of Knicks talk. I have no idea what this Philly team's going to be. I actually think that you and I might have like,
It'll
and
be
whenever
fun.
we like guess what their record's going to be, because it could be fucking anything.
Yes.
I don't know. That'd be a fun one. I like that one. And
Yeah.
then, like you said, you want to save Oklahoma City's and Indiana's divisions for the last. And for still somehow Oklahoma City is in the Northwest Division, which is
Yeah.
incredible.
Well, that's okay. Just like the Memphis being in the Southwest
I always think about Dallas being and football being
in the East. Yeah.
in the East, yeah, the NFC East, and I'm just like,
The Timberwolves being in the Western Division at all.
yeah. Well, I guess expansion is really not going to happen. So maybe it's just
The Cardinals in football